Hello, Legionnaires, and welcome to some Rando RPG live stream. That's right, it is now time to sit down on the virtual couch where we will talk, rant, and joke about tabletop role-playing games. If we're lucky, we'll learn a thing or two, and of course, we will clown those unwashed and unkempt degenerates in this hobby who need to be pushed back into their noxious troglodyte caves. I hope you're ready, so let's get going. Thank you all for joining me on some Rando RPG live stream. I am John Maxley-Auschlow, your facilitator and host for tonight's discussion on how to start playing a tabletop RPG. What? No crazy stream anymore? Well, we'll have some craziness maybe at the end of the stream, but for now, we're reformatting things a little bit to be more beneficial for you. So before I introduce the panelists and start the discussion, let's knock out some announcements that I've got here. First and foremost, I cannot appreciate you or thank you enough for being here tonight. It's Friday. You could be doing anything else, but for some crazy reason, you decided to give this live stream or the VOD, if you're watching it after the fact, your time and attention. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm looking at the camera right now, knowing that you can't even see me. Well, hey, whatever. So what do we do here? Some Rando RPG live stream takes a look at the games, systems, people, and culture of the tabletop RPG hobby with an emphasis on individual experiences, desires, and expectations. Oh my God, expectations. Yes, there are those as well. In these 4 segments, we hope to provide ideas, suggestions, and even advice for your tabletop RPG sessions. So please consider supporting Legion of Myth through the links in the live stream's description. YouTube takes 30%, Twitch takes 50% of your hard-earned money, while Rumble, PayPal, Streamlabs, and Ko-Fi take between 0 and 5% of your donation. New format for Rumble Rants and Super Chats, less than $20. I'll read at the end of each segment. We have 4 segments. $20 or more, I'll interrupt the conversation. That's right, I will tell Even Bear, shut up! And then he'll punch me. But, I'll still say it once till I have broken teeth and a black eye. But we'll interrupt the conversation immediately. $50 or more, I will take a drink in your name, and you can force the panel to answer a tabletop RPG gaming-related question of your choice. No social security numbers, no sexual habits, so forth. It's gaming-related. And I don't have anything for $100 or more because I felt weird saying, pay me $100 to get a $25 giveaway. That would just be weird. So we'll figure out something at some point for that. I don't expect to get that kind of money today. Anyway, so charity we support is the Wounded Warrior Project, a national nonpartisan organization whose mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. Please refer to the description below for the link to where you can make your hopefully tax-deductible donation. And finally, a notice for our longtime viewers. There is a new rule. Pay attention, Rumble. Pay attention, YouTube. There is a new rule that moderators will enforce during live streams now, and that is this. Do not directly insult or personally attack any host or any commenter, else you will be timed out and maybe even banned. Just don't do it. Take your personal beefs to your own venues and channels, or you can simply get the heck out of here. All right. With that out of the way, we'll do the little subscribe thing there. All right. That out of the way, joining me tonight, first of all, we have Bear the Gen X GM. Who are you? What content products do you create? And what is your tabletop RPG experience, sir?
I am Bear the Gen X GM. I have a channel called Ad Zenith Comics Presents. I'm currently backer kitting Heroic, the role-playing game, and my RPG experience starts in the halcyon days of 1985 and has never stopped up until now.
Nice. Also with us is GM Cody. Good to have you on, sir. By the way, make sure you subscribe to GM Cody. He's not on here enough for me to shout him out like this. If you have not yet, be sure you subscribe to GM Cody. He's got some great content out there. So once again, who are you? What content or products do you create? And what is your tabletop RPG experience?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm GM Cody. Yes, I have a small YouTube channel. You can look me up at GM Cody. I mainly just talk about the games that I love from that I grew up playing, and it's mainly old school stuff. I also talk a lot about not just role-playing games, but miniature games too, board games. I'm a gamer. I love games. And I've been playing games. Yeah, and I've been playing games since around 1995 and haven't stopped since. And I started off as a GM, and I still am a GM and a player. So that's
sweet. Me. And finally, rounding out the panel here. By the way, I'm getting all their channels. I should have done this for the stream, but I was an idiot. I'm getting all their channels in the description of this video, so give me a minute on that while Malachi's talking. So, Malachi, who are you? What content or products do you create? And what is your tabletop RPG experience?
Malachi, Matt Malachi, the OSR on YouTube. Once I start waking up at a decent hour, I'll start making videos, talk about the games that I love, games that some new stuff that I've been finding, and I've been in the hobby since the early 90s, but really,
Right.
really delved into it when third edition was out.
All right, let's put this comment on the screen, and then we are going to get started here. Boom. Jim Cody loved the OG Rogue Trader review. Man, that took me back. You know, that's a game I never played.
Oh, you're missing out. Give it a try.
I'm always missing out. All right, so for the first of this new format, we figured let's start at the beginning. How did you get your start in a tabletop RPG? So we'll start with Bear. And so segment one is just going to be our starts. Like, how did we get started in the hobby? So Bear, we'll just start with the first question. Like, how did you get your start in tabletop RPGs?
I was the young age of 14. I wandered into a gaming store in Waterloo, Ontario, I believe it was. No, Welland, Ontario. And I was bored, and there was this red box on the thing with a dragon and a swordsman. And I said, Dungeons and Dragons? I've heard about that. People kill themselves when they play that. And the guy at the store said, they don't kill themselves. They're just broken people. And if they lost a hand of cards, they'd kill themselves. I went, oh, so I won't kill myself? He went, no, okay, I'll buy that. He goes, no, you want to get this. And he gave me an AD&D handbook. And because it was advanced and I was 14 and stupid, I went, okay. And I bought it, tried to read it. No fucking luck. I was 14 and Gygaxian was beyond me. A year later, I went to school in Montreal, met some guys. They talked about D&D. I said, that sounds interesting. And I wound up getting invited to a Star Trek by FASA game instead.
Nice.
And I fell in love with both Star Trek and FASA Trek and role-playing because of that. So that's how I got my start.
So what was, so your first game was Star Trek. Okay, so how was your first show? Just kind of describe the first experience that you had.
Wow. This is amazing. We're just making shit up. And that guy over there is an idiot, but everyone seems to think he's cool, so I'll let him be in charge. But boy, is he dumb. And then eventually, a year or two later, I took over as GM. His emotional blackmail and torture of us stopped, and we all moved on with our lives.
So if you thought he was an idiot your first time, I'm guessing the answer to this part of the question, did it go well or not, is like...
It went really well because the guys I was playing with were super fun.
Okay. So did you immediately just want to come back and like, I'm in, let's do this again?
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
Okay. How do I want to do this? Yeah, well, we'll go down to GM Cody now and we'll ask the same question. How did you get started in the tabletop RPG hobby?
Well, I actually got started in gaming. I got into all of it all at once. So I've told this story on my channel. I've told it on Josh's channel, Crown of Command. I see Crown of Command's watching, but I'll tell it again very briefly. So basically, I started, I think it was in the 4th grade, and I saw this frizzy-haired kid a couple desks up, and he was looking at a magazine. And of course, anytime you see somebody with a magazine, doesn't matter what the magazine is, you know, magazines were a big deal back then. You wanted to see what he was reading. So I act like I was going to get up and sharpen my pencil. And when I came back, when I passed back, he closed the magazine. On the front cover was a Chaos Space Marine, and it was Warhammer 40,000 Citadel Miniatures catalog. And I was just like, whoa, what is that? And immediately what grabbed me about that was the art. You know, we talked about this the other night when we were talking to Larry Elmore. The first thing that grabbed me about gaming was the art and how exciting that made me. And it just made my imagination go crazy. And so he's, you know, explaining all this stuff to me. And to summarize, he kind of got me started along the path of wanting to get into these type of games. Well, within like a day or two, or maybe a week, it was very short. Another kid in the class, this Native American kid that sat next to me, he goes, "Oh, that's cool. I got a cool book at home too. I'll bring it. It's a game too, I think." So, you know, whenever that was, a couple days later, he brings in the AD&D 2nd edition Monstrous Manual. And I was like, holy shit.
Wait, manual or compendium?
It was the Monstrous Manual.
Yeah,
Oh, wow. So that's late in the game. Okay.
Yeah. Now, my other friend had the Monstrous Compendium, and he brought that to school. He's like, "Oh, I got one of those too, except it's a binder." And it was the Monstrous Compendium. So they bring in the Monstrous Manual, and he didn't have any of the other books. And I'm like, "Can I borrow that?" And I kind of like extrapolated, okay, this is a game. I'm not really sure how it's played. So I wrote up my own rules, and without anybody explaining to me, kind of made up a role-playing game on the spot. And it wasn't too long after that, hanging around Andrew's older brother, that, you know, he actually played role-playing games and miniature games and stuff. It was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. but here's the player's handbook, and here's some other games like Shadowrun and Earth Dawn and Star Wars and all this other stuff. And so, from there, I got all and BattleTech, and so I got into all this stuff all at once, took it all in, still am, and still rolling along, right? So that's.
So I have to interrupt you. I forgot that this is an interruptible.
Absolutely.
I thought it was more than $20, but no, it's at $20. So Crafty interrupts Cody and says, "Thank you for the $20, Crafty. My first experience, I was in 3rd grade, 1986. Older kids played in the cafeteria, and I enjoyed watching the game. I hung around long enough. The older kids let me be their torchbearer and squire. I was hooked. Thank you, Crafty. Appreciate that."
Am I allowed to make fun of Crafty, or do I have to wait?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, go ahead.
And thus began a life of hunting for porn in the woods, eh, Crafty?
So when you first played, going back to the same question, so what was the first table you sat at?
First table I sat at was technically my table, right? And
Oh,
it was
wow.
the kids. It was the kids in the 4th grade, and I was, like I said, I made up rules based off the AD&D Monsters Manual and became the GM right off the get-go, because nobody else understood the concept, and I got the concept right off the bat. I was like, oh, this is just what, I used to play, cops and robbers, imaginary stuff by myself or with friends in the neighborhood all the time. So that was not a new concept to me. I was like, oh, I get it, except we're rolling dice and you have stats, and I get it. So right off the bat, I was the GM. And then, of course, we got, I properly learned the rules when we actually got real rule books and stuff. And then I think I really got it a couple years later when I got to middle school, and I got invited to play with these older kids, and they had like a real group, and they played every Friday night. It was, it was,
The way God intended.
Yeah. It was down in the basement, the musty basement with wood paneling and the mini fridge and the big floor TV and the whole deal. And they had a GM. So I got to really experience how it, I guess, was really done. But really, I started off as the GM right from the get-go. So, that's kind of how I started that experience. Yeah.
Okay. And that first time that you played, do you have any like good memories from that, like specific memories? Like my aunt's story, for example, is just one that I've told a lot of times. Essentially, did it go well? And what do you remember from it?
I definitely remember it going well. I don't really remember like the first sessions or anything, but I do remember one of our first sessions. And the thing was, like, all these other kids were more interested in the ideas, like they liked the art and stuff more than they really wanted to play the game. And I wanted to play the games.
Okay.
I was interested in all that, but I was like, let's play these games. So it was almost like I was press ganging all my friends and neighbors into playing with me. And they were like, okay, Cody, can we just go outside and like.
So wait, so this was you. Let me put this back up. This was you kidnapping people
pretty much.
to play the game.
And so I think the people I played with before I got to middle school the most was my neighbors, the twins, Andy and Vince. And because they lived right across the street from me. And we would go over there, and they were into it. I don't think they were as into it as I was, because they bought some stuff. They got Marvel Superheroes, the original TSR, because we were like, oh shit, there's a Marvel Superheroes game. They got we bought a lot of older stuff that was kind of before our generation, and the reason is because it was cheap, and we could get it secondhand, and nobody wanted this stuff. And at that time in the mid 90s, I could go get Marvel Superheroes, and it was probably like $5, at the game store. And like BX D&D, that was the first version of D&D I properly had. And I think I got that for $5, the whole box set at the game store. So we played a lot of those. Palladium, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, same thing. It was cheap. So that's the reason I think I have a fondness for a lot of those 80s games, even though I didn't grow up in the 80s, because we bought all that stuff as kids because it was really cheap. And I remember one specific, like one of our first games, we were playing D&D, and my friend Andy, they're going through the dungeon and everything. And at that point, I didn't understand that there's more beyond just a dungeon. And so they're going through these dungeons over and over, and Andy is getting really bored of this shit, right? And he's like, they come up to a group of skeletons. He's like, I'm just going to push that skeleton over. He's like, I'm just going to push him over. I'm like, you can't do that. It's not in the rules. There's no, it's not like looking it through the rule, because there's no rules like in BXD&D for like pushing a skeleton over and over. But that was a big breakthrough again, because
Mhm.
I realized, oh, you know, that was another concept that got unlocked, is the players can do anything, and you as a GM have to make things up on the fly, right? And so I was like, okay, and just kind of made some stuff up. And then from that point on, they were trying all kinds of stuff. You know, I'm going to climb the walls, and
That's awesome.
So but that was one of my first experiences, and a very funny one too, because I specifically remember being just like shocked that he was doing something that was not like, laid out the way the rules explained it. But yeah, the first experiences were great, and we had a blast, and we had a lot of fun, and we played I think I made them play as often as we could, right? So it was like every day after we get home from school, I'd go over to their house. I'd be like, we'd be watching Mystery Science Theater or Star Trek or something, and I'd be like, hey, let's play D&D, or let's play Marvel superheroes or whatever. And they'd be like, okay. And I'd go get my books, and,
we have to hang out and have fun.
Yeah.
All right, Cody, whatever you want, just stop talking.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. That's awesome. So let's move to Malachi here. Malachi, same question for you. How did you get your start in tabletop RPGs?
Well, kind of similar to Cody's in a way. I'm homeroom, 9th grade. Guy sat behind me, Mark's reading a novel. It was a Dragonlance novel. It was the one where Riverwind finds the staff, I believe.
Okay.
One of the prequel books, not one of the originals.
Oh, I got you.
And he's telling me about it. I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out. Went to Walden Books, I think it was, and I picked up the Dragon's Vow Twilight, and that was it. I found out that there's a game with this where I can do stuff like in this book, and I was hooked. I got the big black box with the red dragon on it, the starter set they had at the time.
Yeah.
On the second edition, got into Star Wars in there.
Nice.
I remember at one point I tried, because this would have been like sophomore or junior year of high school. I tried to get a buddy of mine to play some Star Wars with me. We never got it rolling.
D6 Star Wars or D20?
Okay. D6. I had the source book, and then I had the core book. And then got to college, and I think it was my first year, second year of college, I got introduced to Rifts. And that was when I finally got to play something.
Okay. So your first game, did it go well?
Oh yeah, it was a Rifts game. It was my first real game. And the one thing I can remember is I was a bounty hunter from the New West book, and somehow we ended up in Mexico, going through a city trying to get away from vampires.
That's okay. There's got to be more to it than that.
That's all I can remember. This was like 97.
I got a cat taking over the stream right now. I already gave her treats, so she has no reason to be up here.
She wants pets.
Yeah, there you go. Right. It's no cats. How can I disrupt you the most? All right. So obviously you didn't need another attempt. Like you didn't have to. Oh, this game sucked. But I'll try it again or whatever. You came back. Basically, you were hook, line, and sinker already into this, huh? Okay.
Yep. And then once third edition came out, I finally got a chance to start running games. And then I've pretty much been mainly a GM since. I think I've gotten to play, with Bears like the third time since then. And then I had my first time really getting to play a lot was a long running 7C game. I ran a couple years.
Okay. So we'll just continue on with you, Malachi. What aspect, what is it particularly about tabletop RPGs that hooked you and kept you coming back?
The fact that one of them is all these worlds that people create that you can go and adventure in. You got like Hyperborea, you have Rifts. They're just these amazing worlds, and you get to be a part of them. And then when you're all done, when your adventures are all done, you have stories to tell, stories to share.
Okay. One of the things I say about tabletop RPGs, and the storytelling word, I know gets a lot of people feeling ways about things, but I absolutely believe it is storytelling. But I just believe it's emergent storytelling. Yep. It comes from the gameplay. Yeah, got to play the game here. So
a lot of the stuff that I remember and the stories that get told aren't the stories that the GM has intended to happen. It's the crazy stuff the players do. Like, I knew I had a player in the 7C game. She had a habit of burning down villages in L5R.
Like you do.
Like you do.
Apparently, for their games, this was before I came out, but for their games, yep.
Huh. Got a story about that as well later. Okay. All right. So, so we'll go the opposite way here. So we'll go with the GM Cody. Again, for you, what aspect of tabletop role playing games hooked you? What made you want to come back for more? And I know you said a bunch of this already in your initial commentary, but what was it about the games themselves that like I got to keep doing this? I want to keep playing. Why did you kidnap people and say, "Come to my table"? You're playing.
Everything about it got me from the get-go. And the thing was, I was already well primed to love this stuff. Like I said, I was a very imaginative kid. I think I was actually had a bigger imagination. I think that's the way with everybody when they're kids. They had a bigger imagination when they're a kid than when they do as an adult. But I remember being a kid and just going outside by myself and nothing but a stick and making up this whole fucking world, right? And I'm like today, I'm like, man, I wish I could do that now. Like,
and not get thrown in jail.
Well, and the other influence I had was I didn't mention him, is my older cousin, and he's a late Gen Xer. He's 8 years older than me, and we hung out all the time during the summer. And even though he was 8 years older than me, he kind of always brought himself down to my age. You know, he had a big imagination too. He was into role playing games. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that till I got a little older, and he's, but we used to play, role-playing imaginary stuff all the time. And we would dress up and, we would watch a movie and be, whatever it was, if it was Conan the Barbarian, he'd be like, all right, I'm going to be Thulsa Doom and you're going to be Conan. And we'd act out the whole movie and then make up some other like sequel to the movie. And like, we'd do that all day long and go out in the backwoods and, so I was already well primed for this stuff. So, and I loved games. I grew up playing games. My dad loved games too. He grew up playing like the Avalon Hill War games.
Yes.
And, I could actually say that was probably my first introduction to hobby games, because me and him played a lot of those games when I was just about the time I got into role-playing games and stuff. We played stuff like Gettysburg and Jutland and War and Peace and a lot of chess. He loved chess and he just loved games. We played all the Milton Bradley games like Axis and Allies. And so I just loved games. On top of that, with imagination and storytelling. And then on top of that, with these, like Malachi said, especially back in the 90s and 80s, all these awesome worlds and these awesome books with this amazing art and these really fleshed out, just imaginative worlds that just blew my mind. Stuff like Rifts or even Dragonlance or Dark Sun or whatever, whatever it was just Shadowrun or Cyberpunk. They just had these crazy stuff that, as a kid just blew me away. I was like, wow, this is cool as shit. I want to be part of this. I want to live in this world. And when you're playing a role-playing game, you can be a part of that world. And, even to this day, I think that's my favorite part, is escaping into this other world and being this other character and doing something that you cannot do in any other type of media. Role-playing games really set themselves apart. Like, I love watching movies. I love reading books. I love reading comic books. But in a role-playing game, I get to live all that out. Right. And I get to kind of dictate how the story is going to go. And, all of us together are going to dictate that along. It's a cooperative storytelling experience. And I think it's great even to this day. So everything about it hooked me, the art, the rules, the concepts. I loved it all and still do. Right.
All right, excellent. Before I go into Bear, one of the comments I want to make here is one of the things I'm trying to do with this new format is get people that have different entries or different experiences in the game. So what I'm hoping to do sometime in the future is have people who might be pure story gamers and have people who might be just pure, it's just a board game, you're just kicking down doors. So just think about that as we go forward. We're supposed to be presenting here different ideas, different things for you guys to chew on. And so far, I think we're doing that well. And now we'll go to Bear. Bear, same question I asked them. What aspect of tabletop RPGs hooked you or kept you coming back for more?
I believe the words of Anthony Newley and Leslie Recuse said it best when they said, "Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see.
Just sing it. Just sing it.
We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. We'll see, we'll defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do, do it. Want to change the world? There's nothing to it. Like no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. And that is exactly what role-playing is to me.
Mm-hmm.
The freedom to create, the freedom to imagine, the freedom to get into a character, a scene, be silly, be serious, whatever you want to do it. Have fun. And anybody who judges you or says you're having bad, wrong fun because you don't play the game the way they do, go fuck themselves. Real hard. With a rake. Because I'm sick and fucking tired of people telling other people how to play games and that they're wrong when they don't do it the way they want. So, for me, what appealed to me, it was a bully-free zone until the internet came along.
Wow, that's opposite of my experience. It was pure bully zone when I played.
I got a little bit.
Canadian. Remember, Canadian.
Oh yeah, fair. So I'm gonna give. We got a few minutes here for this first segment, so I'm gonna give mine. Then I'm gonna open up the floor to the panel for them to all kind of talk to each other, ask each other questions, and so forth. My first game was actually, I think it was basic Dungeons and Dragons. It had to be because it's 83. It might have been first. I don't know. It's one of the Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm pretty sure it's basic. I played a thief. I remember entering that cave. A lot of you have heard this story before. I remember getting attacked by giant ants. That creeped me out big time. I was 10 years old, so it was 1983. Creeped me out big time. Because, mind you, I was already doing something because I went to Lutheran school, and we're talking conservative Wisconsin Synod Lutheran school. So I was already, sinning against God by going there. Satanic panic was alive and well, folks. And so I'm already creeped out about that. And then I'm creeped out about these ants because I hate bugs, even at age 50. Yeah, I'm 50 now. I hate bugs, kill them all, wipe them out. The only good bug is a dead bug. And these giant ants. And I just remember biking home that night. And every little sound, it was 2.5 blocks basically. And I'm biking home. And like everything was an ant coming out to try to get me. And I loved it. Like, you were freaked out, but you loved it. I loved it. And this goes to that second question that I asked them. For me, it was the imagination. I love feeling like I'm in the mind and body of a character doing things that I can't or won't have the opportunity to, whatever, in the real world. I can be a hero. I can be a villain. I can try things differently there. Sure, it's just dice resolving stuff, but I love that. And just being in that headspace of somebody that's not me. All these guys had great answers, so I'm going to open it up. I'll start with Bear. Actually, no, I'll start with Cody. Cody, you have any questions for either of the other two guys in terms of the information that they gave?
No, not really.
Okay. No, you don't have to. You don't have to. I just want to make sure that because when we move on to the next topic, we won't be on this anymore. Malachi, you got any questions for those guys?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And Bear?
Jesus Christ.
What?
Cody, how the fuck did you make up your own game by reading a monster manual?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
How did you even come up with the resolution mechanic? Like, what did you do?
I don't know. I don't know how I did it. And I literally wrote out a rule book. Like, I wrote out a rule book on notebook paper and drew art. I did the whole deal. I had like a cover with like a knight fighting a dragon on the front and like all this stuff, and had the teacher staple it together for me and colored it in. And I have no idea where, because I didn't know what a role-playing game was. I don't know how I extrapolated that from the monster manual, but I did. And I have no idea what the rules were, to be honest with you. I think it had something because I didn't have any dice handy, so we were using like coins and stuff, whatever. I have no idea how I came up with that at all.
So one of the first games I was in, this is after that because I had to spend some years away and I started doing BattleTech and some other stuff. Again, Satanic Panic. But when I was in junior, I think it was senior high, we had this guy Kirk, and he ran what he called his informal D&D, where it was just high-low. That's all. It didn't matter what die you had on you. If you wanted to do something, it was high-low. flip a coin, roll down. So it's real easy to get your start if you've got a little bit of an imagination. So I could see how you could do that. I'm not saying it was easy or fun or whatever. You were making a compendium, but I mean, absolutely. You got a book, you got some monsters. I don't know. Throw lint. If it lands on that square, you hit them.
Yeah, but like characters, how do I mean, there's so many variables that I wish I had a copy of your stapled together pencil crayon covered book.
I wish I had it too. I'm wondering if like my mom has it or something. Like, cause I would love to look back and see what that looked like. I do remember the name of it, and it was real stupid. It was called Castle Wars.
Oh my God, I love that name. What are you talking about?
Castle Wars was the name of it, but I don't remember anything about it other than it was exactly like what the basic concept of D&D was. You went into dungeons and you fought monsters. Now I think I let the players actually like play monsters and stuff. Because I was looking at the monster manual. So, one guy was like, I want to play an Umber Hulk. And I'm like, cool, play an Umber Hulk, whatever.
I don't know what that is, but play it. Yeah.
Yeah, play it. Yeah,
Wow.
So.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's hit some of the comments and super chats here that have been starred. By the way, your comments are not guaranteed to be put up here. I'll put the ones up that I can that don't take too much time. However, your super chats are guaranteed to be put up here. We already did Crafties. So thank you, friends, 42,000 for becoming a new member. Appreciate that. Crafty makes another comment here. He says, everyone knows my greatest gaming moment was Dog Boy campaign from high school. In the days when we had no responsibility and all the time in the world. I still have, no, I don't. I pretend to have that. Thank you, Crafty. Walter MC says, how I got into RPGs. I was working at a movie theater. And one day my boss walked up to me and says, Walter, are you a gamer? Not that time. I didn't have a clue what he meant. So, and it continued on, and I didn't look back to see where it continued on. So there is a cliffhanger to that comment.
He wound up playing vampire. Apparently the guy showed him a vampire book. Did you want to play a vampire? Yeah. And at that point in time, if I had been his age and never played games before, I would have punched the guy and yelled stranger danger at the top of my lungs. But apparently Walter MC was like, do you have a van and need me to help you find puppies? And
I've got the rest of it. He responded with, I could be. Then he slapped down a Laws of the Night on the counter in front of me and asked me if I wanted to play a vampire.
I should have added a vampire to that.
Get in the van.
It's funny how some people were not liking that thumbnail, but yet it's very...
Who didn't like that thumbnail? I love that thumbnail.
But Bear has a better van.
That's a better man. So French 42,000 says, weird guy and I were 13. Our sister got us into... Wait, your sister got you into Battletech? That's the most awesome thing I've ever heard. You win the internet for today.
Battletech box set for our birthday. Okay, didn't get them into it. She bought them the game.
Well, yeah, that got them into it. But the sister plus Battletech equals win right there. Man, so got us a Battletech box set for our birthday. When we went back to the hobby store for more, we found the Palladium Robotech RPG and then became Fantasy Rifts. Rifts ruined my game group because everybody wanted to play it except for me.
I'm going to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bear and the van with the wizard van or whatever.
Okay.
You and the nerd.
Fucking regret not having picked this up in the 80s and wasting all those years on D&D. Just saying it. Officially.
And what game is that, Bear? For those who don't know.
That would be the original Palladium fantasy role-playing game.
All right.
Yeah. I think the third or fourth game I got was one he revised of Palladium Fantasy.
I gotta get a new copy though, like I've shown you before. The binding's coming off on this one.
Oh no!
Breaks me really sad.
And in a super chat here, weird guy and I got into battle. It's the same thing, just with the super chat. Okay, well, thank you for the $10 to repeat yourself. I appreciate that. It's the minute he felt bad. He's a Minnesotan, so he felt bad. It's like, well, I gotta give him something,
Oh yeah, you betcha.
I've had a lot of Minnesota conversations today. Like when I was at work, we were talking about Minnesota for about a half hour. I'm like, I live in Alabama now. Crafty Matt for $5 says, became a GM when my Robotech GM told me he'd kick me out of the game if I bought Rifts. So I should have done that. No, I wasn't the game master at that point, but and I know too much about the system. Well, Rifts was awesome. Fair enough. And finally, here we go. I just had to put up there because of the Minnesotan thing. That's right, Max. I am Minnesotans, like Canadians with guns and hot dish.
Yeah, we call it casserole, which is the right word.
No. No, there's
kinda
actually
like Hot Dish.
there's a purpose behind Hot Dish. There really is. That's the thing. And there's
Go get the muskie on the lake and cook your griping.
No, Northern Pike.
Oh, you don't do muskie where you are? Oh.
No, well, we'd catch them. Dude, muskie are big, and I was small. No, Northern Pike was what I liked to eat. My dad would go fishing for walleye all the time, but I was a Northern Pike. All right, so we're going to move on to the next segment. So we've talked about how we got our starts in the hobby. Now we want to start reaching out to folks. So I'm going to start with Cody on this one. What are the first signs of interest, and how do you build upon potential interest in terms of finding somebody not new to your table at this point, new to like, wow, this person might like tabletop RPGs. Let's find out.
Wow. So I'm going through this right now because I don't have any kids, but my sister has kids. And so I have 2 nieces and a nephew. And my oldest niece is, she's real fucking nerdy, right? She's about to be 10 years old. So she's right at the age I was. And she reminds me a lot of myself when I was her age, right? She's really into fantasy and science fiction now. And she's reading books like crazy. She's reading comic books. And she's got a wild imagination. She's very smart, smarter than I was. And probably going to be smarter than I am now as an adult. And so, but from a young age, I noticed she had an interest in that stuff and had an interest in games. And so I started playing games with her from a young age. And I think the first stuff we started playing was Dungeon, the classic Dungeon board game.
Okay.
And I progressively have gone up in levels. We haven't got to role-playing games yet.
How about Talisman?
Yep. We're now playing Talisman all the time, and she loves it.
That's great.
She's addicted to it. Like every time I come over now, she's like, let's play Talisman. So we play a lot of Talisman. I get the whole family into it too. My wife plays, my brother-in-law and I, like whoever wants to play Talisman. Even the middle niece is about 5 and she'll play too. I kind of help her out. I'm like, okay, you want to move here and don't do that. But those to me, like, are the early signs that somebody's interested in role-playing. If somebody mentions things like Lord of the Rings and they start talking about Star Trek and stuff like that, I might mention, hey, do you play role-playing games or do you play D&D? I think is the more common thing. If I hear those telltale signs, then I'll start like kind of introducing or ask them if they're, interested in those ideas or if they know about those concepts. And if they don't, then I'm like, oh, have you heard about this? Have you heard about, role-playing games? And of course, nowadays, I think it's more commonplace than it was years ago. And you can kind of explain the concepts to them of what it is and be like, well, all those cool movies and books and comics and stuff you like. Well, you can actually be those characters and play those characters. But it's, it's kind of like playing cops and robbers when you were a kid. Mm-hmm. But now it's got like rules, and it's kind of a for way of doing that. So I think those are really like the first tells that, I can see in somebody and kind of gauge if they're interested. And then I can kind of like poke and prod them a little bit, be like, hey, want to come over to this side? There's some cool stuff over here. We got miniatures and we got this stuff, same thing for like wargaming too, right? Maybe they're not as interested in role-playing games. Maybe they're more interested in wargaming. Mm-hmm. And so, and I'm interested in both of those hobbies. So I can be like, oh, you're into military history, you're into Lord of the Rings and stuff. Have you heard about this? Like, check this out. Like, and I'll start. Well,
you also LARP, right? So, I mean, you could go the other extreme.
Well, I'm not a,
or
I'm
you should say you have,
I have definitely LARPed. I'm not a LARPer. It's not my thing. Like, I don't do it. I typically only do that like when I go to a convention or something.
Gotcha.
Just because it's something different. Like when I go to a convention, I like to do something outside my comfort zone and do something I don't normally do. And I have some, like my older cousin is a LARPer. And so when we go to conventions together, we try to do that kind of stuff because it's something different. We can dress up and play make-believe like we did when we were kids. And, but it's not something I like to do regularly. Like LARPing's not something I am like heavy into or ever been that heavy into.
But I guess my point was just like you went role-playing games, war game side, but you might find out that the person would be interested in LARPing. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. And I've met people like that, that are, that have maybe approached me about that. They're like, well, I've heard about like these people that, dress up and it's called like LARPing. And I do know some LARPers in the area. So I'll point them in that direction. I'm like, hey, there's a LARP group here. They meet every week, and there is a big LARP group here in Nashville, and they play a lot of different LARPs. They have like a big space to do it. I know those people. I've gone and played with them a few times, but it's not my thing, but I could direct them in that direction. Right. And I've done that quite a few times. If it's something I'm not particularly interested in, but they seem interested in them, I will push them try to shove them in the right direction.
You're still getting them into the hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
So sometimes, it comes out like that. Maybe they're not into the same thing I'm into. And that's something that a lot of new players need to understand is not every table's for you. I know this is going to be a topic we're going to bring up later. Not every table's for you. Not every group is for you. But I am more than welcome to be like, maybe this isn't for you, but I know these guys that are for you, right? And this is so-and-so, like they're into this and that, like, so I don't mind, pushing people in the right direction they need to be if I can. Right. And, overall, having more people in the hobby is a great thing, because maybe eventually they'll come back around to my world, my sphere, and the stuff I'm in. Right. And that happens occasionally. So, that's generally how I gauge interest, is if they're into something within the same universe that we're into, then I'll try to poke and prod and see if they're really interested in that kind of thing, and shove them in the right direction.
Okay. My guess is that you just took everybody's answer, and now they're scrambling to try to find things to say. And we're going to find out now with Malachi. Malachi, what are the first signs of interest that you've noticed, and how do you build upon that potential interest?
Oh, you like Star Wars? Cool. You didn't like the sequel trilogy either? Well, come on. I got a game where we can make our own sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Cody pretty much nailed it, I think. You got to have shared interest, whether it's something in sci-fi, whether it's the fantasy stuff. And then just...
so I think one of the common themes that we've all seen is Star Wars or fantasy books or whatever. So let me ask a question. What about just the conversations that people have? Like they might like certain types of media. They might ask certain types of questions that just get your, like, I wonder if this person is interested. Like one of the examples I had is I found people that liked anime. I don't like anime at all. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. I'm not a fan of anime, but that's kind of a marker for somebody who's probably a nerd of some sort, where it's like, okay, hey, start finding out what they might do for hobbies and so forth. What do you think are other types of media or again, markers that people would have that
heavy metal music?
I have an anecdote about that.
Okay.
So you guys know I'm running my backer kit. One of my coworkers revealed to used to be our supervisor, now we're all equal, the thing. So he started asking me questions. Now, he used to be the lead guitarist for the death metal band, the Agonists. They've broken up. So basically, he doesn't do that anymore. And he started asking me questions. And then the other day, he was asking me how the backer kit was going. I explained it to him. He goes, is this something we could do like in one night? Or is it something where I have to commit a bunch of time to it? I'm like, we could absolutely do it in one night. He's like, so maybe when it's ready, you, me, and we could all get together and maybe have a one night thing. And I'm like, sure, man, we could do that. That could be fun. That could be a good time. Meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm going, you fool. Run now. Run and hide. It will only suck you in. So, we'll see how it works out. But that's the thing. I'm not like Cody. I'm not like Malachi. I'm not driving around in a van that says, free candy and lost puppies and then kidnapping them into roll. Now roll those dice. You are Kalakar, the warrior of the north. Roll those dice. I'm not doing that to people. I've given up. Yeah, exactly. I've given up on trying to train cats how to role play. That does not work. They like the dice. They don't really get into their characters that much, and they hate the rules. But overall, I'm no longer at a point in my gaming career where I feel I need to introduce people to the hobby. Mm-hmm. What I want to do is show people how much fun the hobby can be if they've tried it and didn't like it. I want to give them a better perspective on it. one of the things you guys have said and everybody always says is, oh my God, your NPCs, your world. Okay, well, that's what I want to give you then. And show you that asshole you played with who really ruined the experience and hit on your girlfriend or hit on you all night long and made the game a horrible event. There's better. There's more fun. There's actual excitement you can have and imagination and enjoyment. So come play one game and see how you feel.
Yeah.
You know, to piggyback on that, Bear has a stalker right now. That's what I'm going with. Apparently, somebody's watching those Palladium fantasy games and is actually writing
this
summaries.
Actual nice person sent me a message today saying, "Hey,
that's awesome.
I want to ask you some questions about your game." I'm like, "Why?" "Well, I'm writing up summaries. Do you mind?" I'm like, "Not at all, man. That's awesome." He goes, "It's really making me want to role play again." I'm like, "Great!" So I gave him the campaign documents so he could have all the right spellings and everything. You know, it's like, you know.
So while this conversation is generally about reaching out to new people, this is still an aspect of reaching out. Somebody who's regaining or rekindling interest because of the fact of seeing something awesome. And then one of the notes that I have written down here is, and we'll get to this probably a little bit more later, so maybe I'm jumping the gun on this, but if you can see how the fun time that people are having, all of a sudden, you know, it's not just boring. It's not just arguing. It's not just, you can see that fun time. You're like, wait. I want to be part of fun times.
Yeah, but you always remember that thing from IT Crowd, right? Dungeons and Dragons, is this a sex thing? No, Jen, it's not a sex thing. Like, I mean, like, that's literally what we have to remind people of sometimes, you know, because like it's still, even here in 2024 with Stranger Things, and all the pie and fucking that nerd show I can't stand, Big Bang Theory. Oh, there are still people who think this is some sort of weird culty thing. No. And it doesn't help when people act like they're in a cult in the public sphere about it, because that just reinforces the negative fucking assessment of it. If we want more gamers in our hobby and we want to be people who are bringing people into the hobby, we have to dial down the freakazoid and dial up the Norman Rockwell a little bit. You know what I mean? We got to be a little bit more, hey, come on in, have a good time. No, it's safe. Don't worry.
I'll stand there with my pitchfork.
Yeah, you're not, you know, not, this is this dark arts and you're now stepping into a larger world and you must win your brain. Like, fuck off. It's a game where we play pretend.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be pretentious. Doesn't have to be exclusive, and it doesn't have to be a black art. It can just be fun.
So let's keep going on kind of that train of thought, but narrow it down a little bit. You know, Bear, you are writing your own game, almost done with it. So how do you build interest in a specific game? In your case, like, how do you get people to your game or your table specifically?
Well, ever since they outlawed random kidnapping, it's been rough, let me tell you.
Gotta do it again now.
You know, back in the days, all I had to do was leave porn around the woods, and eventually some young fellow would wander into my trap, and Cody would jump out. I'd be like, "You're Calacar of the North, roll the dice." But no, for me, I took the step into the larger online world. I started my channel. I started hanging out places like this. I started doing more stuff where I met people that I would never have met otherwise in my life, and have become friends with many of them. And then every now and then on my Discord, I'll say, "Hey, I'm going to be running a game. Who wants to play?" And all the wingnuts come out, which is fun because, you know, you can tell who's watched my games and who hasn't watched my games based on how they present themselves to the idea of playing in a game. But that basically creates a never-ending pool of players if I want to run a game. You have that same thing, Mr. Liao, with your Discord. If you said, "I'm going to run an online game, who wants to play?" you'd be flooded on your Discord by people saying they wanted to play, right?
I've overhyped myself. Don't do it.
Yeah, seriously. Watch how he plays. Like, if you see him as a player, imagine what he'd be like as a GM. But the point is,
one-liners all the time.
Oh my God, just nonstop. This fucking noodly sound he makes, it's just no. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there are tons and tons and tons of people in this community who are dying for games. They want to play, and so long as they can remember, they have to adjust sometimes to match the group they're joining, and not just hammer fist their way and saying, "I like games this way and only this way." Well, then don't fucking play. During the pandemic, I was in a BX group and I offered to run some games for people. I said, hey, we're all stuck here at home. I'll run some games for people. And a couple of people really just enjoyed what I was doing. A couple of other people got pissy about it because they wanted to play games a different way and they wound up breaking off and starting their own group. And I was like, okay, bye.
You started your own group. That's, in a way, that's a good thing.
It's a good thing, absolutely. The ironic part was one of the guy's girlfriends was in both games. Like, she kept playing in my game, but she was also playing in his game after they had their little huff moment. You know what I mean? But this is the thing. We have to learn to be more sociable as creatures, because especially with the internet as our connection point, there's a big opportunity to be a, pardon my French, cunt when you're on the internet and just act like you can do whatever the fuck you want and there's no consequences. But if you want to see the community build and you want to be part of the larger community, sometimes you got to dial down your asshole just a little bit and try dialing up your being a nice guy and see if you can get in a little bit. Look at Max. Max has fooled everybody. Purely. Like, I mean, you should see him in the after shows, folks. He's a fucking savage. But he shows a sociable front. Sociability is part of the game. The game is a social experience. It is a collective grouping of people. So if you don't know how to get along with people and you don't know how to talk to people, well, shut the fuck up, join a game, pay attention, and learn. These games can teach you way more than just imagination and fun. People have written doctorate theses on these things, about how they use them for team building and mental health therapy and things like that. This is a powerful fucking medium. But remember, at the end of the day, we're just playing make-believe. Don't take it too fucking seriously, please. But the more open we are, the more people we'll bring in. The more people we bring in, the more the hobby grows. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.
I was expecting that part.
All right.
But I will
done that
one. Go ahead, Max.
Well, I was just going to skip it up a little. Actually, I was going to go to you, Malachi. So,
I was going to piggyback back off what Bear was saying. I think one of the best parts about his hobby is the friends you make in the end.
Oh, the magic was inside us all along.
Yep. I mean, I've made some awesome friends through this hobby. I think that's one of the best parts.
Okay. Well, so I want to ask you, I want to say a topic here. So let me ask you the same question. By all means, we'll have a moment here where we can have a good back and forth with everybody. So Malachi, same question for you is going to be, how do you build interest in a specific game, your game? So you're going to run, say, a Rifts game or whatever game you want. So you start Star Wars D6, whatever.
Okay.
How do you build interest for your table and your game?
Well, I guess I've been thinking about possibly running a Fallout game at a gaming store near me.
Which, like the actual 2D20 Fallout?
Yep. Okay. I actually just got the Settlers book today, or Settlements book. And I think just, have an idea of what you run, get something together, and get a notice out there. Just start drumming up interest in it, trying to drum up some interest. I ran 5e at another gaming store. All I did was I made a flyer, stuck it up, I think at 3 spots in the store. If I wouldn't have screwed up the Discord link, I could have had a game pretty damn quick. Yeah, I didn't make the QR code. I didn't make it a permanent link.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Once I fixed it within I'll say a month or so, I had enough players and we were gaming.
So you kind of reached out for the targets of opportunity then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else that you can do to build interest? One of the things that I think is a good way to do it, and Bear does this well, whether directly or indirectly, is talk about what happens at your table.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the ways we got people. That's how I got people into my Earthdawn games. Actually, I didn't have to because the players were talking about it. They were talking about the Earthdawn game. People were like, I want to join that. I want in on that. So it was less to do about me, and then I had to talk about that. You were talking about the target of opportunity. What about this one though? And I'll give you a twofer here. Talk about what happens at the table, and how about table poaching? What do you think about that? It's not really.
Well,
It's harder
define
to.
it.
Oh, so it's harder to do online because people play short. But when people limited time, like there'd be people that would go like, "Hey, you should play in my game, not in just say Max's game." And hey, I've got 5 new players, and 3 of them came from that table over there. Haha.
Well, ultimately, at the end of the day, that shouldn't be happening because you should be
No.
sharing players.
Exactly.
Well, we all play on Saturday between 12 and 8 or whatever, and it's the only time I get to play, and I want that player.
Well, then you're a selfish bitch, and you need a good slap upside the side of your head because you're being a toxic element within the social structure. Why not join that game as a player, and then when you see the DM starting to get a little burnt out, go, "Hey, I could run something for a while if you'd like to play."
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, now you're part of that group, and the group's gotten stronger.
That's actually how I did it. My experience is that's how I did it. I joined the groups, and then but I've seen it happen, and especially in the '90s, I saw it happen a lot. The table poaching, where it'd be like, "Hey, that guy sucks. You want to come over to my table over here?"
Yeah, let me ask you a question. How old were you in the 90s?
In my 20s.
Exactly. I was in my 20s as well in the 90s. We are different beings in our 20s than we are in our 40s and 50s, right?
But my point is simply for the sake of discussion here is it is a way, not the right way, not my opinion, but it is a way of building interest for your game. And and maybe that's what we want to turn the topic into. Like, no, don't do table poaching. You're messing with the dynamic of potentially multiple groups there. But it is something that was done. That's why I put it down as a potential talking point. So not that people should do it.
Well,
But,
yeah.
Match poachers players, what?
Hard candies and seductive fan dancing. Where's that been?
I'll get to that at the end of the segment. But and Cody already mentioned one as well. It's very similar to what this talk. Point to another table, like, hey, you know what? I don't want you at my table. I mean, hey, this is great, man. I'm glad you're interested. I don't have room anymore, but you only have 3 people. Yeah, I don't want you at my table. I mean, we don't have room anymore, so go check out Cody's table.
No, I mean, I've had this experience quite a few times, and it's a learning thing. It's a thing you have to learn as a group, and especially as a GM, because as a GM, you are the leader. You are the beat maker of the table. You are the drummer of the table. Everybody's marching to your rhythm. And being a drummer, that's why I use that analogy. But it's in all truth, that is the fact. Everybody's looking to you for what to do. When are we playing? What game are we playing? How are we going to play? All that stuff. They're all following your lead. You got to be a leader as a GM. Yeah. So, but I've learned that a lot in the past. There's a lot of players that are just not a good fit for your group.
Yes.
And you have to learn to just bluntly say, hey, dude, maybe this isn't right for you.
Yeah.
Or, look, I've had this conversation with many players over the years, and it's tough to do, but you have to learn to do it as a GM. It is an important thing because it can totally destroy your group if you don't. And maybe that player will rethink what they're doing. And I've had that happen. They're like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I really want to play with you guys. Like, I'm going to correct myself. And they do. Yeah. Sometimes they don't. And you're like, all right, dude, look, you're still being an asshole. Look, it's nothing against you. I like you as a person, but I don't think we can game together. I've had that conversation many, many times. I specifically had a new player in my group a couple years ago, brand new guy to the game, one of my neighbors actually, and he knew I played D&D. He always wanted to play D&D, never got to play it, and he was like, you're always talking about this, man. I really want to get into it. I'm like, yeah, totally. Come play with us. We play every Saturday and whatever. And so I of course, living next door to him, I could share the books with him. We sat outside and talked about it, and so he came to game with us, and he was like, this is not what I expected it to be. He's like, I thought it was going to be more like Critical Role. I was hoping it was going to be more, you were going to be more like Matt Mercer. And I was like, God. And and that was just his experience though. That was his first experience to what D&D should be. That's what he had the concept of being. I was like, look, I gotta break it down to you. Hard facts. I'm not Matt Mercer. Okay. I run games the way I run games. Now, if there's something you would like to see in the game, I don't mind interjecting that, but I have a certain style and a way of running a game. And unfortunately, that's I'm me. I can't change who I am. So I was like, unfortunately, I think you probably just need to go find another group. There's plenty of other groups that probably want to do what you want to do, and I can point you in the right direction. Like there's a game store 30 minutes down the road. They have 20 groups that, like, literally they have 20 groups that show up there on a weekend, and surely you can find somebody out of there, and I'll help you out, but like my game is not going to be Critical Role. It's not going to be I'm not Matt Mercer. It's not going to be that. So, if you're cool with that and you think you can adjust the way we play, man, I would love to have you around. I would love, to see you keep showing up. I'm more than happy to help you grow in any way you can. But like, and eventually he was just like, no, I don't think it's for me. And I was like, that's cool, man. That's cool. And I've had many conversations like that with people. And sometimes it's like that. And you just gotta accept that. And, yeah, so, that's just a unfortunate, but very important thing to realize, especially to a new player, to make them realize that this isn't for, maybe it's just not for you, period. I've had a couple people that have come into my games and they realized they didn't like it at all. They're like, I just don't like this. This is not, maybe they think you take it too seriously. They thought we were going to show up and play Monopoly and Parcheesi, and it's not that at all. It's like, it's a kind of serious experience. And so, it's not for them and they move on. It is what it is. So
I have a quick comment to that. Is like, I have a statement, then Bear will jump in, which is gaming can be for everybody. It is not for everybody. I know that gives some people heartburn. Gaming's for everybody. No, it's not. It can be, but it is not. Go ahead, Bear.
I'm sorry, it's a bit of a sidetrack, but it's this thing I keep hearing, which is, I expect it to be like Critical Role. And what the fuck is he doing that the rest of us aren't doing? I don't get it. I've watched his shit. He does voices. It's a game. People playing character. Cody, I played in your game. You do voices. We playing character. Shit happens. So what the fuck are they expecting? You're gonna grow your hair real long? Oh wait, sorry. You're gonna what? I don't know what to tell you.
I can answer that. So I wrote down a note to bring up later, but I think this is a good time because Bear's comment. So when I was playing Dungeons & Dragons, when I finally re-entered the hobby full time, I was running my Earth Dawn game. And people have heard that Earth Dawn game was a failure. And I fully say, yes, I failed as a game master in that game because I failed to see how the hobby had changed. I'd played games, I had, I'd done conventions, whatever, but I just wasn't in it like before. And one of the players at the table, one of the airmen, he was like, this isn't like Critical Role. I'm like, what the hell is a Critical Role? So I watched it and I came back to him the next week. I said, that isn't Dungeons & Dragons. I don't know to tell you, but I don't know any table. That's, you guys know that I like, if you watch any of Bear's sessions, watch the RPG's Dumb sessions or watch James Elko sessions that I was in, you'll know I like to role play. I like to be in character, but they still don't play like Critical Role. That stuff is curated. They're all about riffing off each other. Like they've got improv experience. They're professionals. That's just the way I say it. Not professional D&D players, but they're professional actors. They or voice actors, and they know how to handle those situations better than you, better than me. So your generic player at the table isn't going to be able to do that.
I still doesn't answer my question. It's great. Everything you just said is great. What the chat is saying is great. I still don't see what Critical Role's doing this. Making people go, your game's not like Critical Role. What? I don't have fucking hot chicks here? What? Like, I don't have a giant fucking...
The player... For me, it's the interaction. I never see interaction, because to me, I don't believe it's scripted, but it's definitely curated.
I see interaction in my games. I see people bouncing off each other in my games. I see people playing their characters. I see melodrama.
Your game is definitely higher quality than many of them. Random people are watching Let's Plays. Look, I'll use company names here. Pardon me for Sean for this, but I think that the games that I saw Sean run for the Savage Rifts weren't good. The Troll Lord games they're so painful to watch. Like they're crazy painful to watch. I love Troll Lord games, but they are not good sessions in terms of, they're probably good for the players, but they're not good sessions for the terms of entertainment. Bruce's game, I jump in when I can to support Bruce, but my God, it's like watching paint dry. Like they're just not, they're not good games in the terms of entertainment side. And that's what people want when they're looking from the outside. They want the entertainment. And if they're on the inside, they're expecting, I don't want to say thespianism, but I'm going to go with it. It seems like that's what they want, the thespianism of it. And not every table does that.
Acting.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. As a wise man once said, actors are not role players.
We're accused of that. I've had people send me messages. Oh, you're just a bunch of actors. You know,
Sorry, wise ass, not wise.
Yeah,
My apologies.
But
no, but okay, I get that and I understand that. But I'm just saying, I don't know what these people's expectation is. This is the thing. I've heard this before. I had two guys quit a 5e game. They were nooblers, and they were big Critical Role guys, and they quit because it wasn't fun. The girls all stayed, including their girlfriends, and we had a great fucking almost all-female campaign, except for Cody, who we just said was the honorary penis at the table. And we had a great time. Not you, Cody. Was another guy. Sorry. Oh, it's Cole B. My apologies. I just saw your name.
I don't know if you know, but all of Cody's are related.
Well, he's a Cole B, so it's different.
Oh, Cole B.
As Jess said, she said the first night she met him, she said, "Why did your parents name you after a dog?" And that was just fucking hilarious. But the point being, I don't know what the fuck they're looking for. And
yeah.
You know what? I don't want to know what they're looking for at this point. I'm going to keep doing what I do. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. Move on.
Yep.
Simple as that. Like you said, there's plenty of groups out there, Cody. There's 20 groups at your local gaming store. Someone's going to be doing something for you. Or maybe, you know what? You're an observer. You like to watch sports and not play them.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
I'm going to hit a comment here, and then we'll go to our last question for this segment. And he's right. To be honest, Bruce Lombardo likes to do his games with little RP. Bruce, I gained a ton of respect for Bruce when he a few months ago said that he's playing skirmish games.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, you know what? You've labeled it absolutely properly to what your game is. I get it. I don't want to play a skirmish game, but I absolutely respected that when he said that. I was like, that makes perfect sense. Just be open about that, and yeah. Play it as Cody was saying. Play it how you want. And again, since this is our first episode in this format, I want to reiterate to folks: I want people on with differing opinions. I don't agree with what all these folks here are saying, and they're not going to agree with everything I'm saying. But we want these differing opinions so that you out there, the viewer, can grab onto what you think is right and do what's right for your table and your group. So the last question is we're gonna flip the script on this. So, by the way, last question for the segment is we're gonna flip the script a little bit.
Oh my God, what?
No. We have 4 segments. This is the second segment. Last question for the segment is for someone who's never ever played a tabletop RPG. So imagine yourself for just a moment. Close your eyes and imagine you're the player that's never played a tabletop RPG before. How can you approach a table or a game master to try to get involved in the hobby? Now, I know the quick answer is going to be this: just do it. Okay, that's not the answer. Like, what? Because some people are introverted. What can you do to approach a game master or a table? Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with. I haven't started with Malachi yet. My apologies. That's my fault.
Oh.
Sorry, I can't wait for this one.
Give him $100. Hey, yeah, like strippers? My cousin's a stripper. Let me in your game.
So Malachi, if somebody wanted to join your table, what suggestion? But you don't know it. But you're talking to him from afar now. Just what suggestions? What ideas? What would you cultivate within that person to say, to build up the courage or build up the desire to want to get into your table?
Well, shoot. I think before they even had a chance to, I'd ask them if they want to join. But
yeah, but at this point, you don't know that there's an interest. We've already talked about knowing this person has an interest, but needs to do the approaching.
Yeah, because be careful. Malachi is the guy standing on a street corner with a placard and a bell going, "Looking for role players. They don't want to play D&D." Cody's in the van with the burlap bag just waiting.
I just want to say for the record, all the panelists had access to these questions beforehand, so they better have answers.
What did I...
Hey, you know what? I'm okay with that,
I mean, I think I misunderstood the question when I read it, but I mean...
Let me give you a scenario. How about this? I'll give you a scenario.
Yeah. Give me a scenario.
Where do you usually play your games? Is it at your house?
The game store.
Perfect. You see somebody there that just keeps hovering over your table. Or from afar, like always looking over, like every week you're playing the game, kind of sits back, might buy a book, might not buy a book, but you're just kind of just showing a little bit of interest. I'm overselling this, I know that, but but to get the point moving forward.
You're trying to make it sound like cult recruitment or gay porn, so be careful.
That went weird quickly.
The guy hanging out, you're like, hey man, I notice you watching us. Like, I mean, you know. So Malachi, how do you do it? How do you get? How would you do it? But how should someone who is interested in your game? What advice can you give them? Hey, I'm watching these guys play a game, and I really want to role play with them, but I'm nervous. What advice can you give them on how to broach that topic with them? Jesus, we're playing Palladium Fantasy again.
I was just going to say, he's in character with Gerhardt now.
Jesus.
All right, we're gonna let Malachi think about this. We're gonna move on to Cody. So Jim, Cody, again, and Bear's right. It's probably embarrassment but it could just be, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk to these people. It could be like, I don't want to be rude. There could be a million factors that stops a person from potentially saying something. But what advice would you have for the person other than just approach somebody?
Well, I mean, I'll be real. So most of the time I was the one that was approached and pulled in. So I don't know, but I will say that I have, worked my way into other people's groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I worked my way into Bear's group. I saw what Bear was doing. I was like, that's cool. I want to be a part of that. So, but the way I did that was I just introduced myself. I was like, hey, I'm Cody. Like I got involved in whatever they were doing. I introduced myself. Now online, this is a different story.
Sure.
If you're in person, I mean, that's how you do it. You go up, you introduce yourself. I know it's hard, because I understand that because I am an introverted person. I still am. I have trouble with doing that. Like it still makes me real nervous to be in social situations. But I've gotten over that by just doing it over and over and over again. I've had to do this whether, through playing music or role-playing games or whatever. I've had to, introduce myself, approach myself, and, just get involved in whatever they're doing. Now, that might be a slow process. It might just be like, hey, how's it going? My name's Cody. I see you guys playing here every week. You mind if I just sit down and hang out with you guys for a minute, and just hang out and get to know these guys maybe after the game, don't interrupt. I will give that advice. Try not to interrupt their game. People tend to get pissed off.
What y'all doing?
Yeah. Maybe after the game, maybe the guys are outside smoking or just hanging out, maybe be like, kind of just slowly introduce yourself, make sure, that they get to know you. And then you can kind of interject yourself into the group. I think that's my best advice. That's how I've worked my way into other formats and other groups and stuff. I just kind of slowly get to know these people, introduce myself, and eventually maybe we'll become friends and we'll hook up, right?
Okay.
Yes,
Bear, go ahead.
Cody being an introvert is exactly why I'm the extrovert. We adopt introverts, and I just adopted Cody one day.
Oh,
I just went, Cody, you're part of this now, Cody. All right, Cody, we're gonna do this. Cody, we're doing this now, Cody. And Cody's like, okay, I guess we're doing it. But you guys really do need to understand a lot of the advice you're giving. I bounced in gay clubs. It sounds really sketchy when you look at it from a side way, like wait till they're smoking and walk over and be like, hey guys, I noticed you were doing something cool earlier. What's that all about? It's just, there's a dark comedy to it that I really, really love. But I also think we need to point out those types of social stigmas are the things that stop people from doing it. So let's flip the script. How can you as the GM encourage people to come out for games and play? Well, your fucking stores all have these game nights. Why not once a month you just post up role-playing Q&A for non-gamers? Sure. I'm going to be sitting at this table over here. If you have questions, you want to learn about role-playing or stuff like that, come on over and I'll answer your questions for you and maybe unwrap this mystery.
Absolutely.
There's ways to do it that aren't going to force people who are already introverted to have to come out of their shell to come talk to you. You can give them the opening to then slide in quietly and just sit there. And then at the end of it all, you can go, hey, saw you were sitting there, but you didn't ask any questions. Was there anything you wanted to ask? Maybe you just didn't want to talk publicly about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So I did have a couple follow-ups in here that I just wanted to see if any of you guys addressed it. So I'm going to get more poignant about it. I'm going to go back to Malachi. How can the potential player show interest? Remember we were talking before about markers and flags? How can that player show it? Again, the real easy answer is just go say something. We all know that one. But when you're talking introverts and people are uncomfortable approaching others, how can that person, rub the underneath of the bathroom stall to go with Bear's, gay sex reference to show that there's an interest there?
I mean, My suggestion is just after the game, just go up and introduce yourself, or just if you overhear a conversation talking about something. I'm gonna use an example. A guy I gamed with, a group I gamed with for a while. I met one of the guys. He worked overnight at Turkey Hill. He was in there. His roommate was in there. We were talking Star Wars. And I just joined in the conversation. Next thing you know, we're getting together in gaming.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Malachi and Bear are onto something. I think Bear actually has a better point because a lot of times introverts need a little bit of shoving, right? As a fellow introvert, I will say, like, I do appreciate a little bit of poking and prodding from somebody. So I do notice that, like, if I'm running a game or playing a game somewhere, which usually I'm not playing in public, so there's not, but occasionally I will be at a convention or a game store. Even if I'm playing a war game, right? And I see there's some people kind of meandering about, like checking it out from a distance, I will try to notice that and be like, hey man, how's it going? I'm Cody. Like, are you new here? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I'll introduce myself. I always try to be an ambassador to the hobby. And like, I'm like, have you ever played a miniatures game? Like, check this out, or have you ever played a role-playing game? Like, I will do that kind of stuff if I notice, and I do notice if people are like, kind of shyly looking on every week or whatever. Like, I will introduce myself and be like, hey, you're welcome to come try this out. Like, next week we're going to be here like Friday night, 8:00. If you want to come play with us, man, you're more than welcome to. It seems like you're interested already.
So crafty. I was waiting for Cody to stop talking before I made that joke, you ass.
So, by the way, they're referring to chat for those who don't see chat. I wrote a note on here for something that was me, and this wasn't particular to gaming, but it would have worked in gaming. And it's called Set Breadcrumbs.
Okay.
Put out a book, a fantasy book. See if the person takes interest. Like, oh, you read this? These are things that I would actually. I was in high school. What do you want? Crafty, please don't. We have rules in the chat now. And you're going to get people to break them if you keep doing that. I forgot what I said. But the little breadcrumbs, like all of a sudden, the Star Wars logo comes popping out. Like, I don't want any. This really was poignant back when I was in the 80s when I was doing the Lutheran school stuff, and it was really important that I didn't get caught with Dungeons and Dragons or Doctor Who or whatever, because you'd get in trouble for that stuff. I was a Star Wars fan, Star Trek, but you could talk about Star Trek or Star Wars. You could talk about certain things. You'd see somebody, having a comic book, which is still kind of frowned upon. And again, I call those breadcrumbs where it's like, oh, the corner is peeking out. Maybe the person will notice. It might seem weird, like, okay, that's like a 12-year-old trying to get the girl to notice him, kind of thing. But there is, when it comes to the introverts, when it comes to the people who aren't sure what the right behaviors or what people are doing, don't want to be embarrassed, if you want to call it that. I can see a sort of breadcrumb, like I was going to say lunchbox, but that's too young.
And not to put too fine a point on it. I mean, just wear a goddamn D&D t-shirt, or a nerd culture t-shirt. That'll start a conversation.
Yep.
So I do have a joke to make for Malachi. I'm sorry, I have to make this joke because it's burning in my head. As he said, they were talking about Star Wars, so I went over and I interjected myself into the conversation. Next thing I know, this guy and I are playing Star Wars together, and now we put a deposit on a nice place in Napa. We're gonna grow our own land. He just was like, the story was writing itself, man.
You're welcome.
You rolled a 1, or a 20, depending on your preference. But no, like it's we have to be careful how we present ourselves.
Yeah.
We already have a cult stigma on us. We can't then act like cultists. Someone made a Watchtower comment earlier. That's kind of what it can feel like sometimes. Like, hey, have you heard about our Lord and Savior Gary Gygax? Like, it's just, we got to be careful. But there are simple ways to do it. Hang out in places like comic shops, game shops. People who are there have an interest. Hey, man, you role play? No. Oh, cool. You ever want to try? Maybe. Great. Well, hit me up sometime. We have a game here every Saturday. Done. No breadcrumbs. No, hey, like
we're talking for the person who wanted to be involved, that would be embarrassed to do, or
so here's
shy.
The problem. None of us are shy.
I was back in the day. I absolutely
you're
was.
not now. And
Fair,
I can
yeah.
tell you, how do you relate to something you're not? It's hard to think what goes through a shy person's brain.
I'm just remembering back on how how I thought back then. So.
Okay.
That's why I said lunchbox accidentally, because I remember a kid with a lunchbox. Sorry, Cody, go on.
I was just going to say, I think Max and Bear are onto something here, and I've ran into moments before where it's like this slow, gradual breadcrumb / interest kind of thing. Like like for example, I met these. This is an example that just popped in my head, but it's something that's happened over and over to me again. Like I used to go to these shows, and these two guys ran punk rock shows in their basement, right? And so I started going to their shows, and of course I was playing in the bands.
Fucking punk.
Yeah, it is punk, and so I was playing in some bands and stuff, and so I got to know these guys, and we got along first through the music. And I was wearing a Ninja Turtle shirt, and they're like, "Dude, cool shirt." I was like, "Oh, you're in Ninja Turtles?" And they're like, "Hell yeah!" And so we started talking about Ninja Turtles, and then and then we started talking about comic books. Then we started talking about X-Men. But this is like months and months, and we're talking about jazz and X-Men and punk rock and all this stuff. And I'm like, you guys gamers? And they're like, no, but we've always wanted to try that out. And I'm like, cool, man. Like I should come over to your place and we could, play some D&D sometime. They're like, yeah, totally. And next thing I know, I'm like running D&D for these guys. And now they play D&D every week together, so like,
and the moral of the story is that was Metallica.
Yeah, no, but this is, this has happened over and over and over to me is, it's a gradual kind of thing where you don't have to just be like, hey, have you heard about D&D? You should play D&D. It's like
D&D, D&D, D20 is here. Have one. Their first one's free.
Like I had another friend that he's a good friend of mine. We play war games together, specifically Warhammer. And we started playing Warhammer all the time. And he was a shy guy. And I saw him at the game store, and he was even shy showing up to the game store to play Warhammer. And so I was like, hey, man, because everybody's treating him like a dick. And so I was like, hey, dude, how's it going? My name's Cody. I saw you around here. Like nobody's playing with you. I'll totally play some games with you. So we started playing every week, and we'd go outside and smoke because he was a smoker. I was a smoker too at that time. And I was like, have you ever played, you're into like Warhammer Fantasy and stuff. You ever played like D&D? He's like, I played it once. I didn't have a great experience. I'm like, I think you would like it, man, if you had the right like experience and whatever. And I'm like, I think you should give it a try. And it was like months and months of like building this up. And finally he's like, I think I want to give that a try. I'm like, totally, dude, like come over, like play with us. And now he's a role player, right? He's all into it. And like, he's played Star Wars and D&D. But my point being is sometimes it doesn't have to be like a real direct thing, punch in the face. It's a gradual thing, right? You slowly build up to that. And then you can get them, maybe get them into it that way. It's just a slow, gradual buildup. And like you said, like even wearing a t-shirt, like a Dungeons and Dragons t-shirt or whatever, or I've seen guys before, like at the comic store, and they'll have like a Warhammer tattoo. And I'm like, what's up, dude? Like you into Warhammer?
Yeah, I started a job one time where we had to basically interview each other and then present the person to the rest of the training group, right? And the girl that interviewed me, she's like, what are your hobbies? I said, well, I role play. She goes, what's that? It's Dungeons and Dragons, stuff like that. She's like, oh, okay. And she wrote that down. And then when she introduced me, she goes, and he plays something called Dungeons and Dragons. This fucking smoking hot Latina at the other side of the group goes, I want to play this. Like she just stood up and yelled that at me. Now, long story short, that turned out to be the worst fucking choice of my life for many reasons to let that woman into my life. But it can happen if you just openly fucking talk about it and quit treating it like you're a pariah or it's something to hide, like those magazines in the woods that Crafty's so fond of. You can be open about it. It's not the 80s anymore, folks, Yeah.
Bear's got a great point. Be open about it. Like I don't talk about it all the time, but like at work, people are like, what'd you do this weekend? I'm like, I played D&D, or I played Palladium Fantasy, or I went and played Warhammer with my buddy. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, it's this. And I'll explain it to them, whatever. And yeah, if you're just open about what you do, I think that's another good thing. And maybe they're not interested at all. I have a lot of guys who are like, oh, cool. Like
in my office at work, you enter my little door. It's a cube farm, but I have one of the office cubes on the side with the door. If you walk in there, the first thing you would see if you look inside are the Rift's Cyberworks art that from the Kickstarter, and if you turn this way, you're going to see a Keith Parkinson and a Larry Elmore painting right there, and that's spurred on a few conversations in and of itself. Now, normally I wouldn't have stuff like that at work, but it's my own cube, number one, and number two, I don't have room here anymore, and I want to have them out. So just things like that, and people come in, oh wow, what's that about? And then I'll find out real quickly if they know what Dungeons and Dragons is, or if they're just an old, yeah, I read that Lord of the, what was it called again? Lord of the Hobbits. Okay, so yeah. You can absolutely find out that way. Is there anything? Because before I hit super chats and comments here, anything else about reaching out to folks and generally, reaching out and getting people into the hobby that we missed?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, then let me hit some of the chat here. Okay, where did it start? Okay, start here. This came up a lot, so I had to star a couple of these. Like, yeah, get them addicted to dice young. Mm-hmm. And of course, so the gateway drug approach, excellent. I think that's pretty much what all of us were saying at some point here. It's like, once you start, the first one's free. After that, you're hooked. But there's some truth to that, especially if it's something you're interested in. If you enjoy it, you're going to I know I did at age 10. While D&D wasn't the thing I was allowed to do, we turned Battletech into a somewhat role-playing game. Not to the extent of what I'd consider a role-playing game now, but we role-played for the houses that we fought for, and we would fight in the style that was kind of the stereotypical version of that house. We tried to add more role-playing to it even before I ever played MechWarrior, the RPG. So it is a gateway drug.
That said you can role-play Monopoly.
Maybe.
Yeah, but boy, it gets ugly quick. It turns into PvP so fast.
Or it could turn into Crafty's magazines if they're that desperate to pay that rent.
Crafting Gamer for $2. Thank you for the $2. Crafting Gamer says, Jim Cody, quote, join the dark side. We have cookies. That's right. And Vans, apparently. Mercurius says, per se, I'm not into Wargamer miniatures, and I want to keep pointing this out. Probably do this time, maybe next week and the week after as well. I'm intentionally wanting people on here, whether, like, hell, I don't care if they're playing devil's advocate, that have differing beliefs, that have a different approach, that have different ideas about how to possibly do things. I want a diversity of thought in this intentionally. So yeah, I'm not really into war. I mean, Battletech, I guess, is technically a war game. It's pretty simplified for one, but I love Battletech, sure. But I want LARPers on. I make fun of LARPers, but I actually want LARPers on here to talk about those experiences so that people can come in. War games bore the living crap out of me, but I want those for the people who enjoy those things in here to show that the hobby is open, diverse, and how maybe one thing isn't for you, but another thing is for you. So that's going to be a struggle for me because I have strong opinions about certain stuff about being, that's great. Oh my God, I hate this. Deodorant helps people, and I remember, yeah. By the way, when you go to a convention, by the way, Legion Myth Weekly live stream, Garthon and Heathen Dog did an entire video on this one time because of a convention. Please shower and use deodorant at conventions or gaming stores or in public. For the love of God.
Just in general.
Okay, moving on. Man of War, 665 Neighbor of the Beast, thank you for being a member for 19 months. Really do appreciate that. Max poaches players with hard candies and seductive fan dance.
Nope.
Thank you for being a member, sir. Game with ADHD says, after getting Star Wars from Max, why is everything about me? I realized a friend might be interested. I asked if he and his wife would want to play, got another couple interested, and now I'm putting together a campaign.
Hey, Cody, how long have we been waiting for Brian to do his fucking Palladium campaign that he invited us to? And we even made a fucking group chat on the Discord.
Ninjas and Super Spies, right?
Stuff? Yeah. Apparently that's gone the way of the fucking dodo.
Brian,
Star Wars with some buddies.
By the way, I really love to play Star Wars. One of my favorite fucking games of all time. Thanks for inviting me, you dick.
Well, this is D20. Are you into the D20 system?
Oh, D20. Never mind.
No, fuck
you
that.
can have that.
Well,
never mind. Move on.
That was Brian's squirrel.
I don't care. Stop indulging him. Shaming him is the only option we have left now, guy. Stop being the good cop. Just be the bad cop all the time.
Bear, can you read this one?
Nope.
Okay. Bear is a better GM than that Mercer guy.
Don't know what you're talking about. Hang on, let me read that again. Bear is prettier than that Max Liao guy. Yes, I am.
Well, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Full Metal Dragon, for being a member for 8 months as well. Weird Guy for $5. Thank you for the $5, sir. Really do appreciate that. I know for a fact that Max and I don't GM the same, and I only go into first-person dialogue during key points. Max said he only uses first-person dialogue. Yeah. You can go back and watch Bear's games as far as my character. I do this, and because I'm in the headspace of the character, I'm trying to be the character. Now, I'm not going to stab. I understand there's a line between reality and fantasy. I'm not actually going to punch somebody. I'm not actually going to stab somebody. I'm not actually going to throw somebody into a lake of lava. But I try to be in the headspace of the character.
I don't believe you. I think you're going to shoot someone.
Never mind.
Yeah, see, I knew that would cause that. Yeah.
So, do you have a moment to discuss our Lord and Savior, Crom?
Crom, he's come for you. Take the truth of Crom. The hell
I don't have time. As someone who's always had social anxiety, it can be intimidating to approach a game group that's already in play. Right now, I don't have that problem. But 30 years before the Air Force, I definitely did have that problem. Crafty for $2. Speaking of game shops, pour one out from my local game group.
Yeah, Crafty's probably drinking, so he means for my own.
Okay, because I don't drink. I have the shot glass right here, but it takes $50 or more to get me to drink.
And I'm not wasting one drop of this precious nectar.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it's closed.
Crafty for another $10. Thank you, Crafty, for the super chats tonight. A few of my sales guys asked me if they could use the conference room to do something extremely nerdy. I inquired, how nerdy? This was 10 years ago, and it got me back into the hobby.
Now we know who to blame.
Oh, it was actually when I was stationed on Ramstein. It's not stationed. When I was working on Ramstein, I ran the conference centers out there. Guess where we played?
Conference centers.
So I didn't do it in the 4 Stars conference center. I did it in the annex one, but still, we played in. Yeah.
Duhas.
And the last one, Hunger the Starvarian for 14 months is yeah, baby. Every time I see yeah, baby in text, I just think of that Rick and Morty thing. Yeah, baby, with the little sex robots. If anybody saw that episode, season 2, 1, I forget.
I think of
1.
The Gazorpazork baby.
Yeah, Gazorpazork baby. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Malka.
Oh, I was saying I think of Austin Powers when I see that.
Oh yeah, baby. Okay, yes. All right, let's move on to segment 3. Let's go talk about now. We've talked about so far of how did you start? Because we all had to start somewhere. Just get that out there. Reaching out to new people. Now you've reached out, got somebody interested in your game. I'm going to start with Bear on this one. And so the first question is, how would you prepare the player? Remember, this is a new player. This isn't an experienced one. This is a brand new player. How would you prepare the player for the first session? I missed whatever.
I went through so much pain last night preparing some players for a new session.
Okay.
I was tortured as a soul.
Well, if you want, I can just start with the follow-up questions. Like, how would you present the rules of the game, or would you?
It's too soon. I can't. I just can't. I can't.
So we'll let Bear take a deep breath and come back, get a little massage from his cat.
They're in the trees. They're coming.
We can move on to Cody. Cody, so how would you prepare a player for a first session?
A new player?
Player.
Prepare them for a new session.
Mm-hmm.
I would just explain to them what kind of game we're going to play, what it is. But for a new player, I would not want to overwhelm them with information. I would just be like, look, dude, because I think role-playing games are something that needs to be shown, not told, right? Okay. Like you need to be there and do it. And even watching it from the outside is different than being there at the table and being involved. So I think it's really something where it's like, you just need to get them to the table and get them to do it. And then, and so to prepare a new player, I would just be like, okay, look, I would kind of give them the basic concept, but I'm going to tell them exactly what I just told you. I'm going to be like, you really need to sit down and play, and then you'll get it, right? Like you'll understand. But, if it's a specific kind of, world or something, I'm going to give them a basic overview of what that is. I'm going to tell them, a basic overview of the rules. I'm not going to overwhelm them with rules. And if it's an all brand new group, I'm not going to do something very complicated. I'm not going to play riffs. I'm not going to do something like, just fucking ludicrous. I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple, right? Like, and pretty straightforward to where everybody can understand the concepts around the board, So I would say to prepare them, it's going to be pretty minimal. I think they just need to sit down and play and experience it, and then they'll get it, right? Like I don't think any amount of preparation is going to prepare them for what it actually is, because they don't know what to expect, and it's almost impossible to explain all the concepts of what a role game is and what you're going to experience inside of there. So I think you need to just sit down and play. So I'll give them the minimal information they need, and then be like, okay, look, this is what you need to know. Like, don't worry about it. Just sit down, play, watch, and learn. Right.
Okay. So you hit on a couple of things. That's one of my follow-up questions. So I'll hit the third one. What about tools of the trade? Do you worry about things like dice or paper, pen, pencil, books, whatever, that they should come up with, or are you like, nope, just show up and we got you?
Sure. I always have that extra stuff ahead of time. So if it's brand new people, I have plenty of dice. I have plenty of character sheets. I always carry a big pack of pencils, because even my veteran players don't bring pencils. But, so I always come prepared. I think that comes more from my running games at conventions. Okay. So I run a lot of games at conventions, and I have everything the player's going to need to play at the session. And I do the same thing even for a regular group every week. So if somebody forgets their dice, here you go. Here's the community dice. Here's a pencil. Here's a character sheet. So I don't if it's a brand new player, I'm not expecting them to bring all that stuff, because, they might not even like what we're doing. So I don't expect them to bring their own dice and stuff. I'm going to have that stuff ready on hand and ready to go, like for them, so.
Because I know this is going to go on this is going to be our longest segment of the night. I'm just going to ask my follow-up questions now to get the others also prepared for them when I ask for them. Would you run a special one-shot or a one-on-one session for the new or potentially new player?
Absolutely. I've done this a lot. I've had people request this, actually. I had a new player recently that he was kind of new. He had been out of the hobby for 20 years, and he was very introverted, very uncomfortable with coming back in and playing with a group. And he's like, hey man, I'm really uncomfortable with this, because you guys have been role playing for a long time. Do you mind if just me and you do a one-on-one session? Absolutely. And we ran like a little 3-session mini campaign, just me and him getting back into the swing of it. I've done that for a lot of people, by the way. I've done that for my wife. She's she's role played a little bit in the past and stuff, but we've done a lot of just one-on-one sessions. I've done that for a lot of people just to get, I think that is a really good thing to do. I think it makes people more comfortable, because maybe they're less comfortable in a big group session, but they're going to be more comfortable if it's just one-on-one, right? I think that's actually a really good point and a really good thing to do. I don't think it's something I think about all the time, but I think it's a really good thing to do, actually, especially for the introverted people. I think it builds up their confidence a little bit. And then when they get to the group session, they understand all the concepts, all the rules, all that stuff, and they don't have to spend a lot of brain power on that. They can spend more brain power, more energy on the social interaction, and less on the rules and what the basic concepts of role playing are.
Okay. Well, would you give the player a character, or would you create one with the player?
I would, if it's a brand new player, first off, it depends on what game we're playing.
Fair.
So if it's Palladium, for example, and yes, we can have an argument about that, but if it's something like that, if it's Rollmaster or Palladium or something where it's a bit more involved in character creation, I would probably be like, what kind of character do you want to play? And I'll make you, I will offer to just make the character.
Don't scare them away. Don't intimidate them right off the bat with all the, yeah.
And, because a lot of those games, like Palladium's not a hard game to actually play. The hardest part of that game is the character creation. Mm-hmm. Same with Rollmaster. Rollmaster is not a hard game to play. But the hardest part is it's front loaded. It's very hard to create a character. So, if we were playing that kind of game and I was playing with my like usual group, I'd be like, hey man, look, what kind of character do you want to play? We'll make the character. And then if you get comfortable with the session and you want to remake this character, we can do that. Right. Okay. So yeah, I will totally offer that up to any new player, or even old player. You know, if we're playing a totally new system and I have a group, my usual group, and they're just not used to the system, I'll be like, do you guys just want me to make characters for you? Just tell me what you want to play. I'll make the characters for you and take the burden of that. And we can just get to playing. And then in a few sessions, once you get the hang of it, you can go off on your own and make your own character and change that character to what you actually want it to do. So yeah, I'm all for that. Absolutely.
I'll save my other follow-ups for these other guys, and we can have a conversation about whatever I missed with you later if you want to jump in. Barry, you prepared to answer yet?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So what I actually really do with I ran a whole Noobler game. What kind of character you want to play? What do you want to do? What do you like? What do you want? Okay, I'm gonna make a character for you. Okay, what sort of ideas do you have? Okay, great. Here's a character. Great. Show up first session. I found art for everybody's character, and I made little nameplates, little tents. Put them around where I want them to sit. Why? Because I brought a ringer in. I brought in an experienced role player who was there to help them. Problem is, she can't sit beside another female player because they have that fucking huggy, cutesy girl power shit going on all night long, and they end up not paying attention. So I have to stagger everybody out so I can break up the two best friends. I got to put them away from each other so they're forced to actually talk to the other people at the table, et cetera, et cetera. I made placemats with all the dice. What are the dice? Here's the list of dice. Here's an action.
Wow, you went all out.
Here's that. I did all of that for them.
Nice.
Out of the 5, 3 got it. 2 did not. It was just the way it was. But if you're going to bring them in, make the effort. I do not work in fucking HR. I have a real job. But you got to make sure that they have comfort when they get to the table, or a sense of camaraderie, a sense of a band of brothers. So what's the first adventure I ran for them? Well, I took Hankering for a Nails, Prisoners of Moloch 3-part adventure he does that he put up on his channel, which is a great introductory adventure. So they all start in cages, get out of the cages, save the thing, get to the next room, find your gear. All right. And that's what I did with them. And as a result, they all got in and we went really well. Once we got out of the dungeon, that's when the 2 players gave up on the game because they couldn't get their brain out of playing in a dungeon. They wanted to just have that video game experience. And that's sad. But the rest stayed. And one of the girls got, she was so good, her gnomish character, when they had to go into the Underdark to rescue one of the PCs who had been kidnapped and taken back for crimes against the Drow, she legitimately tried, because she was a princess of gnomes, she offered to exchange her people. She's like, I can get you a line of gnomish slaves. I'm like, what the fuck, Arancha? She's like, what? I'm their princess? It's like, oh my God, you're evil. But that's the thing. And seeing them get into that level of role playing and having that much fun was great, but it was because I eased them in.
Would you give the player character how to say this? Would you let the player character, if it's somebody new to the game, would you let the person effectively play himself?
No, God, no.
Okay, we'll go on from there.
But I'm not going to tell them you can't be there. So I'm just going to say, who is this guy? Who is this girl? And I'm going to ask them questions with the character. And yeah, they're going to insert themselves in because that's what they do. But I always say things like this. In your mind, if this was a movie, what actor would be playing this character? And that gets them thinking outside their head, and it helps.
Okay.
I got to get something cooking, so I'll be right back, but I am listening.
Well, but I have another follow-up, so I guess I'll have to wait.
Oh, follow-up already, you son of a bitch. Go.
Would you limit the character concepts or classes?
Again, I make their characters for them.
Okay, but still, most games, for example, playing a wizard is more difficult. You have to know your spells. You have to know what's going on. Let's use your superhero game. Superhero games are kind of like being a wizard, so everybody's going to have some powers and so forth. Would you limit the complexity of those powers or abilities for somebody who's new?
Please watch Table Breakers from last night, sir.
Okay, but this is for people who are out there in the world who are watching this video right now.
Why do you do this to me? I just want to stop my kitchen from burning down. And you bring
Okay,
me back
go
to
stop your
trauma.
kitchen from burning down. I'll move to Malachi
No,
and
it's
we'll come back.
basically with superheroes. It's very different because you have to have a conversation about what they want the character to be and who they expect the character to be, and then you have to break the news of, well, how does that work in mechanics?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they have to be able to think that way, because it's all great to have high-minded concepts, but if you can't reduce it to a mechanical step, it's going to break down, because this is not conch shell around the fire storytelling. It's still a game with dice, rules, boundaries, and an end zone. So
Okay.
now
All right,
I'm
I
gonna
see
stop my
fire. I
kitchen
see
from
fire
burning
in the
down.
background. So yeah, go do your thing. So Malachi, back to you for the original questions. How would you prepare the player for the first session?
These guys, I think, nailed everything. Just
Well, then I can ask. I can ask you a couple of follow-ups that I haven't asked yet.
well, I mean, like, most likely, I would probably offer them up some pre-gens rather than actually making a character. And like when it comes to the dice, I would actually have a set specifically for them to use, where each die, if we're playing like D&D, is a different color. So if they need to roll a die, I can say you roll this color die, so they can. It'll help them learn that the different sides easier.
Okay. Would you let somebody play something that's completely off base for the campaign? So using the D&D world, would you let somebody play like an ogre psychic? I know Palladium Fantasy, you can do that. No, I'm talking like in D&D, or an undead warrior or a dragon or something like that. Again, my rationale for this, I'm not saying yes or no, I'm just saying my rationale for this is we're trying to inspire people to play. Like, would you be willing to say, you know what, if this is what's going to get you excited about the game, I can make this work for you? Or you be like, no, that one might be too difficult, two, that's not what this world is about. How would you go about that?
I would look at the player and I would say, well, for your first time, we should keep it something simple. And I would try and get him to
But I saw this movie and I wanted to play the fairy from what's the name of that this recent movie that came out with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air guy. I can't think of any names right now. Glitter, is that what the name of that movie was?
No,
I want to play the fairy or whatever it was. Bright. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
The fairy that Will Smith smashed against the window?
Yeah, but I mean, I won't get smashed, right? All I'm saying is like you're looking at somebody who's interested in playing, but now all of a sudden wants to, like, it's got this, I read these books and I want to be this. I want to be an Ewok. Like, what?
I'd probably be willing to let it slide or try and get them like to take that concept, but maybe play something that would fit better.
Okay. What about the idea of having the player play an NPC first to get, put the foot in the door, kind of test the waters to see if this is something for him?
I consider it. I mean, like, maybe not a important or major NPC. Maybe like if using D&D as a example, the group already has some hirelings. Okay, using Crafty's example, you get to play the hireling for now to give the shot. Oh, you like what you're doing? Okay, well, now your hireling's a PC. Let's finish rolling up his stats and everything.
Okay. I'll open. I'll open this one up. This is the last follow-up question, and any special guidance that you'd give to the group about the new player, and that you'd give to the new player about the group. And what I mean by this, I probably should clarify some of this, is would you say, hey, you know what, I might be taking it easy on this guy, or hey, guy, just so you know, these dudes are experienced, and you got to understand you're just one cog in the wheel here, or what? Any special guidance, help him out because he's got spells, or what kind of special guidance would you give to the group and to the new player? And I don't care, you guys can just chime in as you.
From my personal experience, a lot of the guys that I have gamed a lot with were more experienced, and when we had a new person that joined, everybody would automatically go and be there to help.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think that was ever a problem. We just did our best to make sure a person was welcome.
Okay, Cody?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And I preach really heavily on this, that if there's somebody in the group that's weaker as a player, or they're new as a player, or whatever, I'm not saying I'm the best player in the world, but I've been playing a long time. I've been doing it a long time. I try to raise that person up. I try to make them better. I try to help them out as much as I can. I try to bring them into the spotlight more, right? Even whether that's through, and I do it subtly. I'm not like, hey, dude, you should do this. I'm do it through role playing. I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you think? Or, maybe there's traps up ahead. You should go check it. It's going to be better than that. But, that's just, But I try to do that stuff to give that player more interaction, give them more spotlight, make sure they're having fun, get them involved in the game more, really push and shove them in that direction. I think overall, it's, a lot of people put all the responsibility on the GM, but to make a good game, it's everybody combined.
Yep.
And the players have to have as much enthusiasm and as much input into the game to make it as good of an experience for everybody. If they don't put in as much energy as the GM does, or vice versa, it's not going to be that strong of a game. It's going to be a better game when everybody puts in a big amount of energy. And if, the experienced players should try to push the newer players to their level, right? They should bring everybody to the same level. So it's going to be a great experience and have this great energy, right? So yes, absolutely. Everybody, without saying it, I don't even have to tell you to do that. You should just be doing that, as that is part of being a good player. Is, if you have been playing a long time and you know what you're doing, help the guy out to your left that just walked in this Friday.
That was what was so great about my Earth Dawn group in the 90s, is that's exactly how they treated the new players that came in. Go ahead, Bear. You're muted, sir.
I have one rule. Everybody fights, nobody quits. No, I have one rule for the vets with the nooblers. Let them make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they're about to walk off the cliff, you can intervene at the last second to pull them back, but let them see the precipice. Let them see the outcome of their choices so that they can learn to be better players and realize maybe pulling every lever isn't the smartest idea when we walk into the room of levers, or levers, or however you want to say it. But that's the only rule. Help them, role play with them, encourage them, help them with their stuff if they get lost, but don't tell them how to play. Do not.
Yes.
I have a friend who does that, and at one point I had to stop in the middle of the game, and I went, "Hey, do you mind if he plays his character?" And he's like, "Oh shit, you're right. Sorry, man." When he wants help, he'll ask you. Otherwise, let him do his thing. I'm going to cast web. That's a bad idea. No, he wants to cast.
I just
web.
wrote that note down, Bear.
Let him cast web. What? No,
you're absolutely right.
A pet peeve of mine is when a player tells another player what spells to cast.
Drives me fucking stupid.
Yep.
Yeah,
but,
you're absolutely
he's going
right.
to cast a dumb spell and we might get killed.
But apparently mine wasn't as good as Cody's because I didn't get a whole bunch of bears right. So I'm going to go cry in the corner in the kitchen and use my tears to season my food because Cody's better than me, and that's all I know now.
That's why we have
hallelujah, hallelujah, amen, Bear. You're absolutely right. That's actually like a really
shut the fuck up. That's like getting a consolation prize now. You know what I'm saying? It's like a sympathy date. Brutal.
No, you're absolutely right though, because that's like a really important point. Is I see this all the time. The forceful veteran player. No, dude, you need to take this feat. You need to do that. No, you need to check for traps right now. Don't tell them what to do. Just let them do their fucking thing. That's how they're going to get better. You can give advice if they ask it,
or in character.
Yeah, or in character. And in fact, encourage that in character. It's like, if they ask you out of character, ask them in character, right? Encourage more of that. Push them along to be a better player. Don't force them to do what you're going to do. That's not the way to do it. You're just going to frustrate them, and they're not going to have fun anymore. Let them do their thing. Let them make mistakes. Let them die. Bear's absolutely right. Like that is a really, really, really good point. And I see it over and over and over again in games. And it frustrates the hell out of me. So, and I'm like, I do the same thing. I'm like, no, shut up. Let them do what they're going to do. What are you doing? You tell me what you're going to do. That's probably the best point that's been brought up in this topic. Absolutely. And it's something that veteran players make a mistake of over and over and over again. That's don't do that.
I think it comes from the computer game mentality, and this is just my take on this, where it's like, if I'm sitting at a table and you're casting a dumb spell, what I'm thinking in my head is like, well, this could go south, but let's see how it plays out. And if I have to make a new character, like, don't get me wrong, I love my characters. I don't want to make new characters, but at the same time, that's just part of playing the game that can happen. Where other people, no, you can't do that. If you do this, then we're all gonna, you cast a fireball in a 10x10 room, we're all gonna die. And I'm just sitting here like, yeah, it might happen, but let's just see if we learn.
Like, I'm gonna say
Cody was right, by the way. With everything Cody said, Cody's right. Cody's the best.
Sometimes doing stupid stuff can just the outcome of it can make a session.
Malachi, I have to interrupt you, sir. We got a $20 Rumble rant on Rumble. I can't put it on the screen. I can put Rumble comments on the screen, but I can't put Rumble rants. But it's for $20, so you get interrupted, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
He says, so this is from Grizzly Beardo. Thank you, Grizzly Beardo. If there's time for a bonus question, how do you help a good player get their mojo back? In my current Rifts game, it's like my buddies just stopped trying to role play and interact. Let's start with Malachi in this one. How would you help them get their mojo back and to start role playing and interacting with the world and the NPCs in the world?
I probably take them aside after the game and say, "Hey, man, what's up? You're not yourself in gaming like you used to be. What's going on? Is there something wrong? What can I help you with? What can we help you with?"
Okay. Just bored. Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're everybody gets in a funk, like everybody had a bad day. I try to bring my A game every time I play, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. Like sometimes I just worked 60 hours a week. I'm fucking tired. I just want to sit back and drink a beer and like roll some dice, and I'm bringing my C game tonight. Sorry. That's just the way it is. I didn't sleep well last night. I had a bad day, bills are late, whatever, something bad. You don't know what's going on. And so I think that's really important is, if you're a regular group, you guys, it's important that you guys become friends because that's going to create a better energy for the group. And if you are really friends and get to know that person, you need to approach them and be like, "Hey man, is everything cool? Like, is everything all right?" Like, you don't have to talk about it, but like, if you want to talk, you're more than welcome to talk, and like, cause it probably either they're having a bad day, something's going on, something,
maybe it becomes systemic though over time. Like, it's been like 3 or 4 weeks. And
if it's a consistent thing, if they're really lapsing and there's nothing wrong, like I will probably just push harder. I'm going to prod and push harder. I'm going to put them in more difficult situations. I'm going to wake them the fuck up. You know what I mean? I'm gonna role play really heavy. I'm gonna put them into tense situations and wake them the fuck up. Right? I'm gonna give them a little bit of shock, and they're like, "Oh shit!" I'm gonna try to push and prod and bring them back to life. Right? I'm gonna resuscitate them back to what they were. I'm gonna try to, anyways. And I've never really had this problem consistently. Usually, maybe I have had this problem in a group where it's like, the one guy that's like the heavy role player, and then you have like 4 people that are not so heavy into role playing, and that one guy's just like, "Fuck it, I just give up."
It's weird because I've had the problem with me. I don't remember sitting at a table and noticing that somebody else at the table has gone into the funk. I've only noticed that I've gone into a funk.
I've definitely noticed this before, but I'll probably approach that person afterwards and be like, "Hey man, like, what do you want out of this game? You want more like heavy role playing and storytelling and stuff? Well, guess what? Like, these guys are new. You need to push them to that level. You need to help me out to get them to that level. So you need to bring your A game. Otherwise, they're not going to get to your level." Right. Okay. So whatever needs to be done. I think Malachi hit the nail on the head there. You have to have a conversation with them. You have to talk it out and see what's going on. And if it's just that they're just in a funk, maybe just push them and prod them. I think Bear's really good at this, actually. He wakes me up every once in a while, gives me a little shock resuscitation, like, "Hey, wake the fuck up, motherfucker. This is happening." He's really good at that. Like forcing you to role play and interact with the situation. So like, I think, that's, you have to take it by case basis. and see.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Fair.
Listen, if it's on an online game, you do that. You poke, you prod, you push them into a role-playing situation to get them to interact and see what happens. At the table, I have a different technique, which some people may agree with, some people may disagree with, but I find I have great success with it. I spike their Mountain Dew with psilocybin and MDMA. Let me tell you.
Works every
Let me
time.
tell you. They're role-playing. They're licking the guy next to them. They're wearing a cat in a hat.
Legionofmyth does not condone drugging people at the table.
No, of course not. No, it's listen, I've had friends where after the game I'm like, dude, you're not clearly not enjoying this. Something up, and they're like, I need a break. I'm like, okay, we'll take a break with you. You can come back, let me know when you're ready to come back. And I have a buddy of mine who rotates out, plays for 6 months, gets tired, rotates out for 6 months, comes back in. It's like he's doing tours of duty in my game. It's fun. But what you do is engage them.
Yeah.
If they're not engaged, your job as the GM is to engage them. For example, in the second session of our Palladium Codex Albana game, Cody felt like he did not do a good job and that he brought his C game. So it was one of the first things that happened in the next game, in this game. Cody's character had shit to do all of a sudden. Cody's character had stuff going on. Cody's character had something to shove him back into the system and into the game, so he didn't get the option to just into the background, force him to the front. That's different. If the person's experiencing personal life shit, well, look, gaming is not therapy. We need to get that through our heads. There are people who can use it for therapy, but none of us are licensed therapists, as far as I know.
Nope.
So maybe we need to have a conversation as a friend off to the side. Right. Kitchen's on fire. I'll be right back.
It's funny that's a note that I wrote down as well. It's something we've said a lot on different streams. Games are not therapy. They can be therapeutic, but they are not therapy. All right, so Grizzly Beardo got kind of a freebie there because he found a way of sneaking in a question without paying $50. But because it was in follow-up questions, I let him do it. Thank you, Grizzly Beardo, for the $20. Again, really do appreciate that. So, so I'm about ready to move on to the next question. If you guys are good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all right, we'll start with Cody this time because I started with Bear last time, even though he passed it off. In terms of preparation, what do you expect the new player to have or do when he comes to the table? What is your expectation of what do you want him prepared to either have in his hand or do as a new player?
I think we already kind of covered this a little bit. I don't expect anything except for them to show up and be enthusiastic to play and be involved in the game. Put your fucking phone down. We're not watching TV. Turn off the fucking TV. We're just be involved in the game. Pay attention to what's around you. Now, I don't expect them to be as interactive in the first few sessions. A lot of shy people, a lot of new people are not going to be as interactive because they're not comfortable with the group. They're not comfortable with the people they're around unless you already know each other. But typically, in my experience, a new player is not going to be that comfortable with role-playing and coming out of their shell and getting into a character and doing all the things they need to do. And just let them subtly grow, let them, encourage the veteran players to help them out and let them do their thing. But I don't expect them to do anything but show up, be enthusiastic and pay attention. That's what I expect. That's it. Like, you don't have dice? Cool. Here's some dice. Need a pencil? Here's a pencil. Like, now it's a different thing if we've been playing for 6 months and you're like, that's a totally different thing, right? Like, it's like, dude, okay, look, it's been 6 months. Maybe you need to know what your spells are. Maybe you need your own dice. Maybe you need to bring.
Let's look at what we were talking about before. Hungar mailed dice to the UK for one of the players in the Palladium Fantasy game.
Well,
That's how we, that's the teamwork that,
Absolutely. And I've done that many times. Like a prime example is I ran for the past few years, I've ran a white box D&D game at my local convention. And I have it's been a lot of older guys, right? Like 50, 60 something years old guys showing up from other states to play in this game. But one of the guys brought his kid along. And this kid was like 8 years old, never played D&D before. And I was like, well, shit. I was like, okay, cool. So we start playing after the game. I gave him I printed off all the white box rules. I gave him all that. I gave him a set of dice. And I was like, hey, dude, pick out 5 miniatures. And I let him pick out 5 miniatures. I was like, there you go. You're ready to go. Now go home, read the rule book. I'm like, I wish I had a different rule book because that's not really a good start in my opinion. But I was like, hey, here's something to get you started. I told his dad, some other stuff to get him started. And he, I'm all about it, man. Like, I'm all about, helping people that are enthusiastic get what they need. And yeah, absolutely. Like, I've always been the guy to give people miniatures and dice and whatever they need to get into the hobby. Please come in. If you're like really into it, I'll help you, dude. Here's some stuff. Come join us, please.
Okay.
Here's a book.
We'll slide on over to Malachi. Same thing in terms of preparation. What do you expect the new player to have or to do?
No, Cody nailed it. Just show up, get your butt in the seat, and pay attention. No phone, no TV. If you need paper, pencil, dice, I got you covered. If you're coming back a few sessions later, boom, here's a set of dice.
What about the idea of saying, hey, maybe watch a couple of YouTube videos on maybe how the game is played or at a table or something?
Yeah, just stay away from Legion of Myth.
Yeah, of course.
God,
of course.
Do not watch Legion.
Especially if it's Palladium related. Oh my God. Cody, go ahead.
I don't think watching a YouTube video is a good way to be an introduction to a game, because the way you play online is subtly different than the way the interaction.
Hang on. I'm not saying watch a live play. There are some really good, over the last 4 or 5 years, they're 5e related, but I was running 5e videos that explain what is role playing. And then they just have a bunch of people explaining what it is and acting out little scenes or showing things from their table and then talking to the players going, so in this game, I get to do this thing. My characters are this and and they're just normal people playing the game. And I gave those videos to all my players and said, watch these.
Oh, no. Yeah. Tutorial kind of things are fine. That's great. I thought you were talking like live plays. I don't think live plays.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No.
Jesus Christ.
No. Tutorials are great. Like, hey, here's the rules, or here's like a sample. Yeah. All that's good stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Malachi. Malachi wants to talk. Fuck, please.
Well, I've actually seen 2 live plays that were pretty much similar to my tables that I played at. One was a Savage Rifts game by the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. They were running Savage Rifts, and it's like, that's how my tables played before. That and freaking Schwab's games. The stuff his players do and everything. It's like, that is my tables. That is the closest I've ever come to an actual play that is like what happens at my table.
So one thing I noticed is when you have a campaign world as involved and as detailed as mine, you know what new players do? Want to absorb and digest all of it.
Really?
You know what players do? Fucking want to read your fanfic. It's amazing how open new players are to shit and how much they're like sponges and they want to soak it all up.
That's literally the opposite of my experience.
Well, you play with assholes then.
New player assholes.
I've noticed that. Like the more they're constantly coming back and wanting more detail, and they want more information. They want more stuff. Whereas old players we're also fucking jaded, and we're so bitter and cynical about this shit. You got a fucking page long backstory. Whereas they're getting excited because they're now stepping into a world like they're reading a novel or they're watching a series on TV, and they're going, "Oh my God, this world is like there's so many things, and I want to know what everything does and everything connects to each other." Those players are gold. Those new players that have that, never break them of that fucking habit by punishing them for wanting more.
Yeah, no, Bear's on to something really great here, and I absolutely agree. I've had this experience too with a lot of new players. Like, I'll explain the world and stuff. They're like, "Oh, really? What is that kingdom? What is that? What is that house?" And they're like asking me all these details and stuff. And they, not always, but a lot of times they do. And that's really important to note, that like a new player has no preconceptions, so you can shape and mold them to the way you know, like that's a really good thing. New players are fucking great, man. I love having new players because they have no preconceptions of what it should be. Old players can be some of the worst because they've made one way, that way forever. And it's hard for them to break that mold, and it's hard for them to adapt to new situations, but not always, I'm just saying, like, it can be hard, but like a new player, you can shape and you can mold. And yeah, Bear's absolutely right. A lot of new players are going to be really excited and really easy to get excited about, like what your thing is, right? Like whatever, if it's a new rule system or world or whatever, like I think Bear's really onto something, and really encourage that. Keep pushing, like, give them all the information they want to know, because that's just going to make them more excited and more enthused about playing in the game.
Okay. Hey, just want to remind folks out there, in the description of this video, are the channels to these fine folks here. Well, Malachi doesn't have a channel. If you want to send me a link to your blog post, I can add that to the description.
I have a channel.
Well, you don't use it. you got to
Because I sleep too much.
But please subscribe, share this video, but also make sure you subscribe to Zenith. He keeps changing the name of his channel. It's not Bear the Gen X GM, and it's not the Society of Tabletop Role Players. It's whatever it says on the screen there. It's too small. I can't see it, but it's in the description below. Please subscribe to these folks. Cody definitely needs more subscribers, and by needs, I mean deserves some more subscribers. So he's got some really awesome stuff out there. So if you're liking this, please do that. All right, since that was meant to be kind of a quick question, we'll go to the last question of this segment here, and it's more piggybacking on the same here, and that's how do you handle the new player's first session? And to kind of direct this a little bit here, you talk about how you want to talk about it, but direct a little bit is like, would you do something special for them? And would you play the game any differently for that player than you would, say, the other players at the table? And we'll start with Malachi.
I probably wouldn't play it much different. And I think I would let them go more at their pace rather than make it about them. I don't want to kind of like throw everything on top of them, so to speak. I'd rather let them kind of get their foot in the water and start going toward the deep end.
Okay. Cody?
Yeah. A lot of what Malachi said, I would not change the game, cater the game. I mean, I do kind of cater the game for the players at the table. I try to gauge what people are interested in and try to hit on those beats. I try to. I'm not always successful, of course, but I try to cater to what people like. But yeah, for like a new player, I'm just going to throw them into the deep water and let them do their thing. Now, I will take it easy on them a little bit, right? Like, I'm not going to go hardcore on them. So if I know they're going to walk into that room first, I'm not going to throw the fucking poisonous gas trap at them, like, whatever. I might fudge it a little bit for the new guy. But
you said the F word. Oh no.
Yeah, no, I will. I don't mind. Fuck it. I don't mind fudging shit for people. Like, if it makes the game more fun, I'll fudge shit. They don't know the difference. They don't know if I fudged it or not. It, like, who cares? That's just my opinion.
No, well, I'm just waiting for all the comments. Fudging is cheating. Oh my god! And that comment that you made usually lights up my chat. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't care. It can light up whoever it wants. Now, I will say 98% of the time I don't fudge stuff. But if it makes the moment more interesting or more critical or more fun, I might fudge it a little bit. I might fudge it. But most of the time, I'm just gonna the dice roll what they may. But at the most part, I'm not going to hold their hand too much. I'm going to let the player experience it how it should be experienced. Let them join the group. Let them watch and learn. And typically, they're going to take a back seat anyways. They're going to kind of follow the lead of everybody else. And, in a few sessions, they're going to gain their footing and they're going to understand what they're doing and kind of go through the motions. And, they're going to take, and then hopefully the veteran players kind of push them up front a little bit more. They're going to get more comfortable and they're going to do their thing. So, and they're just going to fall right into what you're doing. I'm not going to try to like change the whole session for everybody just because there's a new player there. I want them to experience a real role-playing session, that it's the way we play. I'm not going to try to, now if it's a bunch of like all new players, maybe I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to make it a little easier, a little less hardcore. I'm not going to be as intense. Not going to push them as hard as I would like a veteran group. But if it's like a bunch of veteran players and one or two new players, we're going to play the way we normally play, because I want those new players to see what a real proper role play, or at least how I approach a role playing session is. This is the way we play, and this is the way we do things. And this is, so I want them to get used to that. I don't want to do a completely different thing and then like 3 sessions later it's the thing we normally do and they're like, what the fuck, what happened to the thing we were doing 3 sessions ago? I want them to fall in with everybody else and get comfortable, and I'll let them gain their footing and get comfortable. But again, push and prod, encourage the veteran players to rise them above, present situations for them to get involved, present things opportunities for them to get more enthused and excited about the game. And like Bear said, usually a lot of the new players want to get involved in the game. They're interested in all those little tidbits and feed on it. Give them all they want. Give them the spotlight if they really want it. So, but yeah, like I'm not going to change the game too much for a new player unless it's all new players, and then that's a different story. Then I'm probably going to take it easy on them for a few sessions, and then we're gonna get into the real nuts and bolts here, right?
Okay. Bear, same question for you. Like, how do you handle the new players' first session? Do you do anything differently? What do you take into consideration?
Cody hit everything. I got nothing to add. No, really, okay. I don't. I have nothing to add. He said everything I would say. All
right, so I got a couple follow-ups.
We share a brain, in case you're wondering.
I got some follow-ups then. So, would you give the player, now some of this is going to be based on the player's personality, I get this, but would you give the player character more attention or kind of a lack of attention so they can watch more, or let me phrase it, more attention to get them involved more, or lack of attention to let them watch more? Or would you not even a consideration?
It's a balance.
Yeah.
You give them attention when you need to give them attention. When they're sitting there being too quiet, you need to draw them out. Mm-hmm. And when someone else has something that they need, there are still other players at the table I have to worry about, so they can observe while we're dealing with those players.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
But then, in a critical moment, give them a decision to make, and watch them sit there for 20 minutes trying to think about it. Oh, hi, Malachi. Sorry.
Wow, he's not going to live that one down.
Hey, I was actually thinking to myself, so.
What about something like for the new player? And this was a suggestion that I almost didn't put in here, but I was like, you know what? If somebody suggested, somebody might be thinking about it. Giving the new player the equivalent of something like hero points or karma points or something, reroll points, just for the new player.
No.
Okay.
No.
If I'm going to give something to one person, it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah. So Bear's doing everything he can to hide the fact that he's breaking my cardinal rule. That's okay.
Sorry, buddy. I'm diabetic. I have to eat when it's supper time.
If we're doing fate points or hero points, it's going to be for everybody, not just for that one person.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Yeah.
I actually watched a video last night about, being fair to players in RPGs, and that's one thing he said, using inspiration from 5e as an example. Don't give it to just one player, give it to everybody.
Sure.
Right.
Again,
whoa. Give it to the player that earned the inspiration. If I give one player inspiration, I'm not about to go, and now participation time, kids. Here's everybody else's inspiration. No. Fuck that.
What he was saying was that if we're using hero points, everybody.
Every rule must be uniformly applied.
Okay.
Yes.
What about would you provide any sort of hand holding for that character? And you can take that whatever direction you want. I want that to be vague intentionally, and then. My follow-up, which I should probably wait till you answer, but I'm still going to answer, whether you do or you don't, what is the benefit to say, like, no, I'm not going to handhold them, or, yes, and I will for this reason. What's the benefit for that? And we'll start, Malachi, go ahead.
A little bit. Just, like I said earlier, ease them in. You want to make sure they don't drown in everything, so to speak. Because if they drown in everything, if it's too much for them, they might not come back.
What are some examples of hand-holding you might do? And again, it doesn't have to meet somebody else's definition of hand-holding. Just what would you consider something you'd do for the new player that your experienced players might sit there and be like, what? Or be like, oh, no, I get it. I get why he's doing that. It's cool.
No.
Malachi loves being put on the spot.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Say, Bear, well, I was thinking again. Would you do any hand holding for the new player? Okay. And what's the benefit of not hand holding?
They learn. The other players are there to help them.
Okay.
I'm there to run the story. I'm there to run the session. If I start helping them, I'm giving partiality to one player.
Yeah.
And that's a no-no.
And you don't think that that giving partiality to a new player to encourage interactivity, role-playing, whatever, is beneficial? Okay.
Again, that's what my other players are for. They're there to help that person become part of the collective. They will assimilate them into the Borg.
And Cody, same question. Hand holding, yes, no, benefit?
Typically no. But if like I've seen players just completely lock up at the table, they're like, oh, and I'm just like, it's okay, dude. Like, here's here's an example. They're like, I really, they might just completely lock up and break character and don't know what to do. Brand new player. I'm like, okay, look, stop, pause. Let's assess the situation. Here's a bunch of things you can do. Like here's some options. I don't mind hand holding them a little bit if they're like just completely blocked up, or like maybe if we're like taking a break, smoking a cigarette, or just going outside, or like eating pizza or whatever, and they're like, hey, like, what can I do to do this and that, and we can have like a discussion or whatever. I don't mind helping them along. Like Bear said, of course, and we all said, the other players at the table should be helping that person. I think the best way to do it is subtly do it in game, right?
Okay.
Push them
kind of like you're fudging. Just be. They don't have to know.
Well, not necessarily fudging.
No. What I'm saying is it's like you're fudging. They don't have to know. It's subtle. It's a subtle approach.
Yeah. But you should do it like in character, right? It's like, no, whatever, like you can role play the situation out. You can play that situation out in character. You don't have to like stop the game and completely lock up to explain that. You, again, try to get them in the swing of how a game flows and how your game flows and how it should play.
Okay.
And try to keep the game moving. But there is nothing wrong with, it's like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know how this works or whatever. And it's like, that's cool, dude. And you can take a moment and explain the rules and explain their options, because I've had players that don't understand any of the concepts, don't understand so maybe they do need like a moment there where it's just like, hey man, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, or you can do, and that'll inspire them to do other things, so there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, with just stopping for a moment and explaining their options and having a little bit of out of character interaction with like somebody that's like completely new to the concept or whatever. But usually if you just kind of subtly push them in the right direction and the characters are helping and the other players are helping them out, it'll work out fine. But generally, no, I think just throw them in the fire and let them learn from what they're doing and their experience.
Sounds good, Bear.
I have two techniques. One, all my players in my home game know they can at any point in time say, whoa, set the scene. Yeah. Because they've gotten lost in the moment or things have happened. They don't know what's going on. Now, with a new player who gets frozen, that can sometimes help. And like I said, I will rely on the other players to help as well at that point in time. When a veteran player gets frozen, I find it really helps to say their name over and over again. Malachi, 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 Malachi. Like, I find that works fucking wonders. It's like when you're in customer service and the guy's yelling and you go, sir, sir, sir. It's exactly the result you want every time. Patience is a fucking virtue for a game master.
Oh, yeah.
It is a fucking virtue. And people like to tell me I'm impatient. But anyone who's ever seen me teach knows that I'm not. And anybody who's played in the game with me knows that I'm not. Because I will let you. And then eventually I'll be like, hey, dude, we got to move forward now. Make a decision. And it's as simple as that. The problem is new players are overwhelmed by it all. They don't know what the fuck to do. They don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of their character. They don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of the game, so they're overwhelmed. The other players are there to help them. And if they go, what should I do? Not my place to tell you, but you're surrounded by a bunch of people who might have some ideas for you. Why don't you ask them? And now everybody's talking to each other. And now the group is interacting and they're hearing different ideas and all that kind of fun stuff. And then after a very short period of time, you go, okay, Steve, what do you want to do now? Now that you've heard all these options, what do you want to do? And more often than not, I've been surprised by seeing them pick something that was never said to them. They got thinking because of hearing all these ideas, and then they made a decision for themselves.
We call it getting the brain juices flowing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes, though, the veteran players just stare into space.
All right, well, this segment's gone on kind of long here, so I'm not going to ask the last couple of follow-ups. You guys have pretty much answered them anyway. We're going to hit some super chats, and then if there's any final commentary you guys want on this segment, and then we're going to go into the final segment, and we're going to call it a day for the formatted portion of this. So let's look at these comments. That was last. So first session, dress up in full wizard regalia. That won't intimidate anybody or make them feel out of place at all, will it?
Welcome to the dungeon.
Right? It's like you didn't come with your costume minus 50 XP. What are you talking about?
Demand a blood sample.
Well, I mean, we are playing vampire. So one-on-one is how my first DM got us into the game. That was about 25 years ago, and I'm still going. My first game, yes, actually, no, was that Ant's story with his brother? Or was it just me and him? I forget, but I think it might have been one-on-one.
It scared you too much.
Yeah, Ryan is all creeped
I
out.
don't do one-on-one.
You don't do one-on-one? Okay.
It's too
What's the reason for that?
Used to do it. Don't like it anymore.
Okay, fair enough.
If I don't have at least 3 players, I'm not running a game anymore.
I'm actually worse than you. I'm higher number than that for a permanent game, but I'll do a one-on-one to run somebody through the process or to teach them. But yeah, okay. Possible question: what are some? Okay, let's answer this quickly if you want. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. What about someone who comes in brand new and is the one who wants to run the game? Like,
why the fuck
hey,
did you agree to play in my game then? If you've decided you want to come to my table and tell me you're going to run a fucking game, go run your own fucking game. Fuck off.
How about to the group and not the table? Like entered the group, maybe not the table. It's like, oh hey guys, you guys are gamers. I got a game that I run. You should come join my game.
Cool, we're running a game right now. If you'd like to join us when I get tired and you want to take a break, you can run your game then.
Mine's on Tuesdays. Yours is on Saturdays. So
they can go do whatever they want. I don't own them on Tuesdays. I own them on Saturdays.
Anybody else?
Simple, like direct.
So I mean, Bear's kind of right there. Like, somebody's like, oh, this is cool. I want to run a game. Well, obviously you need to wrap up what you're doing first, but I always love seeing new people become game masters, and I encourage that. I think it's good to be on the other side of the table every once in a while, even just once.
Yeah.
Just experience that once to see what your game master goes through. And the game master, I think it's good for a game master to go to the other side and be a player.
Oh, I really enjoy being a player again right now in all these games. I like.
Me too. Yeah, because I'm usually the game master, and now all of a sudden I get to play in games, and it's fucking great, and to experience that again is awesome because I haven't experienced it in a long time. But and if somebody new in the group is like, hey, I'd like to try to run a game, like I fully encourage that. But I think it's something where like the players need, again, it's kind of like a grooming session because like in my case, in my group, like my in-person group, I have 2 people at the table, like me and another guy that's like a GM, right? And so if we have a new person in the group that wants to GM, we kind of help them along. I'm gonna kind of like push the group to help, the GM along. I'm not gonna try to like break his game. That's the wrong thing to do. Don't try to break his game. But after the session, be like, hey man, that was a good game. Here's what you can do differently. Maybe you should have done this and that, and and usually they're going to ask you too. They're going to be like, what did you think? What can I do differently? It's like, all right, man, like that was good, but you can do this better. You can do that better. It's the same thing as like being a player on the opposite side. You're kind of but you're grooming them as a player to the GM to encourage them, to push them to make a better game. And the players can push the GM to make it a better game, right? It's like, well, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to ask this person. And then it's going to get their brain juices flowing again to make them come up with better decisions and make them become a better game master, encourage them and push them harder than they originally intended to be, right?
If there's one thing about being a game master that I've taken, one is I don't bust the balls of too many other game masters.
Yeah.
Because I understand that it's not always the easiest task in the world, but I will provide suggestions and advice. I actually learn from other game masters as well. It's like, oh yeah, I could have done that in one of my games. All right, I'll remember that for the future. Try to. So yeah, it's definitely good being on both sides of the fence there.
Yeah. Hey Malachi, hey Max Liao, hey Bear. There we go. I don't feel like we're left out now because Cody's getting more attention again. I'm just fucking with Cody because it's fun. I actually have to thank Cody because I'm being a player again for the first time in a long time, and I'm actually enjoying it. We haven't played enough, but I'm enjoying it. But I don't like it. You know, that makes sense. Like I'm having fun, but I don't like it. You know what I mean? I don't like being a player.
Wow.
It's not what I am. I'm not a player. I'm a GM.
You kind of get used to it after a while.
Well, no, but I've been the GM.
Yeah.
Since like 1985, 86.
Oh,
you know what
geez.
I mean?
It's longer than me.
And I don't enjoy playing. I get annoyed. I get arsed off. I get stupid little ideas in my head that are just like. But in Cody's game, I'm having fun because I really like my character, and I made a choice to play a character who will be annoyed by everybody he works with at all times. So therefore, anytime they're annoying me as other players, I just roll that into the role playing because they're annoying me from my game master brain's getting annoyed by them. Right? It's not my player brain; it's my game master brain. So I just roll that into the character being all gruff and shitty with them. And it works perfectly. So I get to have fun.
It's funny you say that because I felt like that for a long time. Like I didn't want to be a player. And every time I was a player, it was like, ugh, so sick of being a player. It's not that the game master is bad, but it's just I would have done things differently and I want to express that. And but now I don't know what it is. Like, I don't even want to be a game master at this point. Maybe it's because I got so much other work to do on the side, and I know how much actual work it takes for me to be the type of game master I want to be. And some people, I do zero prep. Well, fine, you do zero prep. I'm also not on the other side where I spend 9 years building a world and then finally run my game. There's a balance.
Shut up.
There's a balance in. Yeah, but you've run your game on and off though. I'm talking about those people who just go like World Anvil and spend all their life building a world, and then finally decide they want to run a game. I'm absolutely enjoying being a player, and I didn't do this in GM's Alcove's game. The one issue with GM's Alcove is their Pathfinder players, so they look up every rule constantly, which drives me fucking crazy. But other than that, I didn't think about how I would have done things better or differently than him. I haven't thought about that in RPG's Dumb's game, and I haven't thought about that in Bear's game. I just had simply sat there and enjoyed the simplicity of playing my character and enjoying the character within that world. So at this point, I don't even want to be a game master. What's that?
Your character is simple, so that worked out.
In your game, yeah, my character is simple in your game. Yeah, in my character's the leader in RPG's Dumb game, and my character was a complete obnoxious, they called him a bully asshole in RPG's Dumb's game. Those videos are all out there for people to watch. But I'm enjoying, and all three of those characters are so different too. Like, and I enjoy having those differences in my characters. But I don't even know if I want to, because the last couple of times I've game mastered in my own mind, I don't know the Earthdawn thing bound because they all quit. And then like the last few one shots that I've run, I have not been happy with myself and how I've run those games. So I don't know if it's just out of practice or if I just don't want to do it because I'm not inspired to have that improve me right now. Like I want to improve off that. I'm just like, I'll be a player. I'm fine. And that's after a couple of decades of being a game master. Sorry, Cody, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, like, Bear likes being a GM. That's where he's comfortable at. That's what he likes to do. That's fine. I think it's awesome that Bear like stepped to the other side though, because I think that is like a good thing to do every once in a while. Like I said, I was actually kind of with Bear for a long time because I was always the GM for a long time. Like in high school, I wasn't because we had a regular GM, but for all the rest of the years I gamed, I was the GM. And so, and the reason I was the GM is because I hated the way everybody else GM'd. And I was like, I could do that better. So that's the reason I became the regular GM. And I loved to play, but I just hated the way people ran games. So I was like, I'll run a game if you guys want. It'd always be like that. I'd be like, I'll run a game if you ever get burned out. Cool. So but playing with all you guys, like I'm thoroughly enjoying being a player again. Like I've really gotten back into being a player again because not only is it great to play with great players, but have great GMs again. Like it's
that's probably a topic for another episode. But how good players at the table can build up the weaker players, if you want to call them that, or the players that more introverted, whatever. That may be a great topic. Actually, I think it is one of the topics that I have on the list for down the road. But you're absolutely right about that. I'm going to continue on reading these chats here because we're actually over our time now, and we still have one more segment to go. Yeah, it's this guy's fault. I'm the host. I'm the facilitator. I get it. Yell at me. Come on. But here we go. Running a game for newbies, including younglings. Dude complained that a little kid wanted to memorize a useless spell. I pulled him aside and gave him a talking to. Yeah, you should have.
Absolutely.
And I don't even care if it's an adult. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's different with kids, and that's a totally different. We can have a whole discussion about that because I've ran a lot of games for kids. Kids are a totally different topic, and we'll save that for another time. But kids, I treat very differently. I let them do a lot of things I would not let an adult do. I'm like, I've had kids be like, I'm a wizard. I can cast spells. I want to do this. And I'm like, cool, do it. Roll some dice, because they're a kid. Like, let them have fun. It's a totally different experience than an adult, right? Like that's a totally different. We can have a whole.
Here, kids. Heathen Dog did a review of the game about 5 years ago. It's still one of our most watched videos. Hero Kids, and what I love about that is it's actually tailored towards different age groups. At one age group, you just roll the die and get a number. At the next one, you do a little bit of a comparison, and then the third one, you do just a touch of math. And
that's Dustin Halliday is a friend of mine.
Okay, well, he put our video on the
interview him. Let me know. I'll see about getting you.
I'll talk to Heathen Dog because Heathen Dog's the one that did the review of that, but he had us as his source for video commentary on his webpage for a long time.
He's Australian, so time might be an issue, but he's a great guy.
Cool. That's awesome. It's good to know. So people should check out Hero Kids. But anyway, let's move on here. I want to cut out some of these comments. Sorry, guys, but we're running late here, so I'm cutting out some of the comments. But I will put this one up here because I think it's important for us to know. Hey, thanks, guys. Good stuff. You guys are adding good commentary. And I don't know if on occasion here, one or two people are playing devil's advocate on a couple of things, but it's good to have the diversity of conversation here. And I really like that. So let's see. Malachi, do you have a blog? I have now put that in the description. You can check that out there. Right, let's go down. Francois de Rocher says, give characters a chance to shine, whether they take it or not is a player dependent. Otherwise, off you go. So this is about the players that's like no longer like seems to be into it. And I'm torn on this one because part of me says, yeah, you know what? You're taking the game down. At the other point, if it's just one player and everybody else is doing stuff, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I think, I mean, like every player has they're different fun at the table. So some people just want to show up, have a beer, and just hang out with everybody and have a good time. And as long as they're not disturbing everybody, I'm cool with it. Like some people like the, building a character and like knowing the rules and I want to do this and I move 5 squares. Cool, man. We can do that. And some people I'm pulled the strings. I'm an actor, and that's fine. Like we can do that, like whatever you like. I'm cool with all that. I know some people are not. Some people want everybody to be the same, but the reality is every person's different. Everybody has a different expectation in their mind. Every person has a different personality and a different thing they're going to bring to the table, and let them do that. As long as they're not breaking the game, just let them do their thing. And bear.
2 things. One, depends on the personality, because we had a guy in our group back in the old days in college. If he was into it, he was a force of power at the table that got everybody into it. He broke up with his girlfriend, and holy shit, he just sucked the energy out of the table.
Yeah.
So it depends. 2, in response to Cody, Boris Karloff's not fit to smell my shit.
Yeah, but the original question I was really taking as like, this is a guy, he's always interacting on a regular basis, session after session, and then he just for whatever reason, just goes and stops. That's how I was looking at it. Like what you said there.
That's fine. That's why I kind of like the questions when they're a little vague, or the comments when they're a little vague, because it allows people to attack them from different directions. And again, our goal here is to provide ideas. Get those brain juices flowing. Ideas, suggestions, and possibly even advice for other folks out there. So all of this has been helping with that. So
in Minnesota, do they put a U in the word vague, or do they spell it VAG?
Shut up. Fuck off. It's the word's bag. It's vague. It's plague.
Like having a bagel. And my bagel. But I'm a little vague about what kind of bagel I want to have.
Yeah. So at least that's the one Youper thing I cannot get rid of. And when I've tried, I have to contort my mouth in such a way. I'm like, no, I'm not even. That's work to say it the way you're supposed to say it. So you're always going to get the Minnesota bag out of me. So
and I love it. It's really fun.
Oops, I already did that one. So. Malice, I just had to put this on here because I'm listening, because I've already read the entire 10-book series, but I'm listening to them an audiobook right now. I'm on the 3rd book for the Malazan series. There you go. although after I read what the background of the book was from the author, I'm a little less enthused about it. But it was a really good series. I think people should read it.
No idea what that is.
The Malazan Book of the Fallen. It's a 10-book series by Stephen Erickson, I think it is. Scott Erickson. But the first 9 books were absolutely incredibly amazing. The second book threw me off because it starts over with a whole new cast of characters, which was a little annoying to me at first, but there's reasons for that. But once I suffered through that, because I read the first book, Gardens of the Moon, like 3 or 4 times before I finally got through the second book. It's amazing until the last book. And there's just something about the last book. I think it was too short. Like, I think he should have, there needed to be more to it. I really thought that the ending was like, it's over. 10 books, dude. And all of a sudden it's over. What the hell? But still good series.
I've run campaigns like that.
Take Good is back on track. I like that. I Drink There 4 of M says, hand-holding in Session 0 when new rules are afoot. Session 0 should encompass how to use skills and combat after character creation for a simple one-shot that ends where Session 1 begins. So a little hand-holding in Session 0, and then by the time you get to Session 1, hey, we're gonna be playing the game the right way, I guess. So, I did put this up, right, Michael Chad, for $5. I don't think I thanked him though. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate that. Law Dog at the end here puts up the origin story of every gamer. Thank you for the $10, Law Dog. The origin story of every game master is finally reaching the point where he decides to run the game that he wants to play in, and thus he falls prey to the forever GM curse. That's kind of what happened to me. Because I was in a Robotech game and I played him Robotech and it was okay. But I thought I could run the TMNT game better, and well, I did because all the players joined my game and left his. So, lots of mistakes though. I was young and a bad person. But thanks for the $10, Law Dog. Crafty for $5 says, my kids are 18 and 20. When do you start running a more mature game for kids, even if you know your own? Do you tone it down for other people's kids? Well, we should do kid thing in another episode. I think that is a really good topic to talk about. Get quick 5-second answers, guys, and I'll give mine right now. Yes, you tone it.
With people under the age of 18. Sorry.
Well, that's a good one. I don't actually run games for kids either, but I would say yes, tone it down for kids. Cody?
Ew. Well, I toned it down for kids, but I do think it's good for kids to be subjected to a little bit of maturity.
Okay.
I'm not just saying, fuck you, and all this shit. I'm just saying, it's good to interject a little bit of that maturity in them. I think that helps childhood development, and that's a whole another discussion. I think it helped me as a kid because I was exposed to stuff that was more mature, and I think it helped me to grow up and become more mature.
You know what? I want to agree with you, but from the other side, I was the opposite. I was the sheltered kid because, again, that hardcore Lutheran school. And so when I got into the world, even when I first joined the Air Force, I was still 5 years. I always tell people that I'm 5 years more immature than I'm my age. So at age 50, that doesn't matter. But when I was age 18, I was a 13-year-old. At best. When I was age 21, I was a 16-year-old. And again, that's at best. I was so immature because I wasn't exposed to a lot of that stuff. I was very sheltered from all of it. So,
yeah, I was too. I was sheltered, but I still kind of I always snuck off to look at this other stuff every once in a while.
Yeah, right? I didn't have that opportunity.
but I think it's good for kids to be interjected with some a little bit more mature content than they're used to. And I think it helps develop their minds. A prime example is just like I was playing a game with my niece, and it was a way more complex game than she was supposed to play. And my brother-in-law was like, "This is too hard for her." I was like, "No, let her play this. Let her do her thing." And within 20 minutes, she grasped all the rules. She understood the concept. She's sitting around the table with all the grown-ups playing this game. It was supposed to be way more advanced for her, right? And I was not helping her out either. I was like, no, you want to do that? Do that. And then within a couple rounds, she started to learn, and she started hanging around the big boys, right? She started learning that these are more advanced and mature concepts. And that's what I'm talking about. So I don't think there's anything wrong with interjecting a little bit more mature and a little bit more mature concepts in there. I'm not saying interject sex or over the top violence or cursing and stuff. I'm saying just to interject a little bit more mature concepts.
Sex? Did somebody say sex?
Yes. But anyways.
Hi.
Obviously, like there's some things that kids are not ready for or will not understand or should not be exposed to. I'm not saying that, but
I run
like
visceral games where I describe gore a bit because I always want players to understand that what they're doing isn't pretty, and you shouldn't just be like, I kill everybody all the time. I would not do that if I ran a game. To be fair, I don't run game for kids, and I won't. And the sex stuff is like, I don't even want relationships in a game with kids, let alone anything.
I would do that
barmaid.
with adults, right? Like, I don't want to play that out as adults. I'm just saying that, there's certain, like, for example, like horror concepts. I would inject some stuff that would scare a kid into a game. I think that's healthy for them to be scared.
Giant ants.
Or to die, right? To die as a character. Understand there's death. That's a reality.
So you wouldn't go on Twitter and make a post about how traumatized you are that your first, that after 2 or whatever it was years, the first character in your group died and you don't know how to handle it?
No, because my first character I ever played as a player, he died jumping at. Okay, I'll tell this story real quick. So the first, I started off gaming as a GM. First time I played, I was about 12, and I played with an older guy, and he ran me and his brother through a game. And so I snuck up. I was playing a thief, and I snuck up to the castle to save the princess or whatever. And I got caught by all the guards. And so I grabbed the princess and jumped out the castle window. And I didn't make my roll or whatever. I slipped off the rope and died with the princess. Right? I'm like 12 years old. And so my first character was a thief. He died in the first session in this horrible, horrific way. Right? But like, that stuck with me. I still remember that, and like that was an important life lesson. Like,
ever since then, he goes out of his way to kill other people's player characters.
Yeah. but we can move on. I think this is it's a subtle thing you have to do. Playing a game with kids is a totally different atmosphere. It's a totally different kind of thing.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I'd be a great host for that conversation, but and I'm not going to tell anybody what to do on the other channels. But if that's something that could come up on, say, the Four Color Cafe or somebody else's channel, that'd be a great discussion that I'd like to listen to.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, let's. What else do I have started? Oh, that's it for the start. Okay, we're going to go into our last segment. This is a little bit more, I wouldn't call free for all, but this is kind of like final thoughts, what we didn't get out. And I've got 3 questions here for these guys, plus some follow-ups if necessary. And then we'll open up for them as a whole. This question is probably pretty quick one to answer, but I'm open to any stories. Like, how do you think most people, this isn't you now, how do you think most people enter the hobby? And we'll start with Bear. I haven't started with him in a while.
Ass backwards.
Huh?
Ass backwards.
What do you mean?
Most people enter the hobby just blind.
Okay.
No idea what they're doing, no idea what to expect, nothing. And that's why so many people leave it quickly as they start it. Because there is no real good prep for them. There is no good explanation for them. There is no good welcome aboard for them. And that's a failing of our culture, that's a failing of our society, and that's a failing of our hobby. We used to have that. We used to have a lot of that. Ever since 3rd edition, it's gone. It's died off slowly but surely. The last great introduction box I ever saw in my life was the Palladium Fantasy, the Pathfinder 1st edition beginner box. That was an amazing resource. Nothing I've seen since. And don't even talk to me about those 5e starter boxes. Nothing has come close to that.
Okay.
The 5e starter box is a fucking campaign. Pathfinder beginner box is an adventure. They go into one fucking dungeon. They get out of the dungeon, and then they know if they like the game or not. I picked up the starter box for 5e, and I'm like, I don't want to run this. Fucking Lost Mine to Fandelver. Shouldn't it be find dwarves, find map, go to Lost Mine? Like, shouldn't that be the fucking
It's really funny you say that. Now that you mentioned the adventure name, you're the first person to ever say on this stream that I know of that Lost Mines of Fandelver isn't the best adventure that they've seen, at least for 5e. People love that one. It's like the only thing good about 5e.
Thought the achy breaky heart and line dancing was fucking awesome. What do you want me to say? You know? It's a garbage adventure because it's a campaign. It's not an adventure. You got to go to the town. You got to get the clues. And then you got to go to this other location. And you got to go to this other. Then you got to do this side quest. And you got to do this. And you got to do that. It's too much. People will, but they won't. It's 5-7 sessions of play. Introduction should be one session of play, 2 tops, and have a resolution at the end of that. And then the players can sit back and say, did I enjoy that? Was that a time spent? You know what I mean? That's how I feel. So I feel the hobby has died in the mainstream. There's lots of independent stuff that you can do great stuff with. And there's lots of independent people that you can do great stuff with. But the mainstream crowd, it's too complex. It's too over the top. It's not good at saying welcome to the hobby. And we need that back. In my humble opinion, which is not fucking humble at all.
All right. Malachi, how do you think most people enter the hobby?
Usually I think it's through somebody they know, a friend, relative.
Okay.
I mean, they showed.
Yeah, that's
no. I mean, you know somebody show an interest, they bring you in.
So what in those cases, what do you think, baby's first RPG tends to be? I mean, obviously we know D&D, but I mean, just what do you think, I'm not talking game necessarily, but what do you think the setting, the ambiance around it tends to be? You think it's just like, oh, you might be interested in this? Let's just sit around the table, see if you like it. I mean, what?
I think it's usually you showing interest, the new person, the one that knows about this and wants to try it. Them showing interest to somebody that they know that plays.
Okay, Cody.
Well, yeah. Usually, my experience, most people get into the hobby through somebody they know, whether that's their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, friend in school, like it was with me, or just some random dude or whatever. I agree with Bear, though. I think that's something that's really lacking in the hobby, is a really good introductory way to get into the hobby. And to be honest, I haven't explored I don't keep up with the newest, greatest things, so maybe it's gotten better. But since the year 2000, it started to seem to go downhill for me.
What do you think? Well, that's again 3rd edition. What do you think is a good? Can you give an example of a good introductory adventure that you've seen? I already know my favorite. I'm just curious what you guys think.
I really can't. I can't think of any that were that great. And
Beck
so
Me.
Beck Me was great as a box set, but like I think. Yeah, Beck Me was probably the best.
I'm talking just for introducing a player to the game.
Redbox was amazing.
Redbox was amazing. Absolutely. Even to this day, I would recommend that to like somebody new. Be like, read this, check this out. This is fantastic. Like fantastic introduction to the hobby. But as far as like an adventure, I can't think of anything. Okay. But I think Bear's on to something there. I think the best way to get new players involved in the game is don't do this long drawn out thing for a new player. Get them into the action like that. It's like you're on a pirate ship. It's you're prisoners. Oh no, an octopus attacks. It's like shit is happening, and you got to do stuff. And they're like, oh shit,
Take your Lost Mine of Phandelver.
Yeah.
Have them find the dwarves, find a map, and go straight to the Cragmaw caves.
Yep.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Straight to that fucking adventure, and they're done.
Same thing with, I would say, for Keep on the Borderlands, which I think I do think is a good blueprint for a GM to understand how to lay out an adventure and a new GM. But I don't think I might get like some flack here, but I don't think it's like the best introductory adventure for a player. What I found works great with that adventure is go straight to the Caves of Chaos. They get a clue right off the bat. Hey, you're being strewn. It's like you go to the keep and you find right off the bat, like this is, somebody got captured. They're in the Caves of Chaos. You need to go rescue them. We're going to pay you this much gold, whatever. And so, lead them directly to that, to the place they need to go, or get them straight into the fire right away. I find that works best for new players, is just throw them into the fire, into the action as quick as possible, get them involved. And then you can kind of slow it down a bit and get into some other subtle aspects of role playing and other things, right?
Okay.
And there's a bunch of reasons for that. One, it helps them learn the rules, because when you get involved, most of the rules in a role playing game are going to involve combat. And so if you get them into a combat fast and get them to some quick combats, they're going to understand the mechanics of how to make skill checks, how to do a combat roll, how to make initiative, all this stuff right up front. And then, once they get out of the fire, you can slow it down, go to a town, and they can get involved in the more subtle aspects of getting into a character and role playing, interacting with NPCs. And then you can get off into, okay, here's a bunch of stuff you can do. Now you got this wider world. What do you want to do? Right. And then
Believe it or not, Cody and I have independent thoughts. We do often.
No, actually, we had
a stuff we agree a lot, Yeah.
Okay.
Like for Heroic, one of the biggest problems we're having with Heroic was writing the introductory adventure, because I needed to do certain things. One, it needs to explain how the rules work, how to do tests, how to do challenges, how to do all that type of stuff. Two, I need to show how combat works. Three, I need to show how social stuff works. And then four, it needs to be fucking fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, as somebody who wrote an introductory adventure for Forbidden Lands, that's harder than you might think. Because to me, writing an adventure, I don't write adventures. I'm a very much more sandboxy player, game master than that. But then you have that added dimension of introductory, and exactly what Bear said. Okay, what do you need to do to introduce somebody to a game? Well, they need to know how to make a character. So, okay, we got to have characters. Then they need to know how to do combat rolls, because every game's got combat in it. Oh, then they have to have social interaction, because it's a very big deal for Forbidden Lands. Oh, what's another big deal? Survival. Crap, how do I add all the survival elements in, without overwhelming them at the same time? And finding all those elements to get them ready for a more longer-term play, it was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this applies to veteran players too, because if you're running a brand new game or a brand new campaign, you want to get them excited right off the bat. So I always plan out the first adventure a lot more than I plan out the next ones. The next ones, to be honest, I'm just making shit up as we go. But the first one I have planned out, right? Like I have a lot of ideas.
That's the hook. That's the drug that gets you. And then after that,
and I want to get them hooked right off the bat.
Cody. I could tell.
Oh, I know. I know you can tell, because
once we fucking got away from that castle, I'm like, all right, what's Cody gonna do? Oh, we're just gonna see whatever the fuck happens. That's the game we're playing. Okay. Well, my job as a player is now to push the game in directions and see how Cody fucking reacts to that. Let's see what happens.
Exactly. And the players are going to
fuck his elf. Fuck his elf NPC right in your stupid pointy-eared ass.
But that's the thing. Like, I'm gonna let the players.
I'm not an agent of chaos.
No, he's not. He's
An
actually
agent of chaos tries to disrupt the game.
Yes.
An agent of order helps the game move.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah,
and that's one of the pitfalls of a sandboxy style game. And it sounds like Cody runs his game after the first one more sandboxy style. Again, there are gray areas, within there where, yes, that agent of chaos or the selfish player is the one that will ruin it for you, because he's trying to manipulate everything to get to himself, or he's just trying to let's see if I can mess with the DM on this one. And those, players have a responsibility at the table as well, which leads into the next question. And we'll start with what? Go ahead.
I think the current publishers, Savage Worlds probably has the best starter anything. It's a free PDF. You get the basic rules, a short adventure, and pre-gens for the adventure. It's everything that you can get up and running and try out the game. And it costs you $0 if you have dice and cards.
Okay. So, Malachi, since you're talking, we'll start with you. What can we do to encourage people to be true hobbyists? This is where Bear and I are going to have a disagreement, I'm pretty sure. What can we do to encourage people to be true hobbyists, which includes casual players? I'm not against the casual player at all that just wants to play on occasion, but not what we're now labeling tourists, people who kind of look from afar or do it one time and then think that they have all types of opinions and commentary and want to change everything. And you don't allow orcs that are wizards and, whatever else. The tourists are the ones that look at what we do and how we do it, like, oh no, that's not right, or oh, we can do it better, even though they don't understand what it really means to be in this for years and so forth. So what can we do to encourage people to be true hobbyists, which includes casual players? Because I don't want to dog casual players.
Rule number one is you have to be respectful to other players and how they play. And if something is not for you, that's okay. You walk away. Don't force them to change. Like with what you were saying about how, with orcs, for example, or Vic and his dwarf wizards.
Yeah.
He wants to have dwarf wizards in his world. Fine. he can go ahead to business. You don't have to play his game. You can go start your own game with hookers and blackjack.
Hookers and blackjack. What was that?
But I mean, you've got the players like you should never allow a player character to die. You should. I mean, we know most of this is nonsense. It's from a very small. Again,
using that example, you are not respecting other players that want to play where they have a chance for their character to die. You need to be respectful of those players. If you don't want your character to die in your game at your table, fine, you play that way. But if this table over here is playing where their characters can die, you respect that, you let them be. We can all get along in this hobby if we respect each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, but I'll talk at the end. Bear.
Yeah.
What can we do to encourage people to be true hobbyists and not tourists?
Don't be a gatekeeping fuck.
I'll disagree with you there. All right,
Yeah,
Cody.
no, we knew we were going to disagree because you are a, what's the word I'm looking for? Absolutist. Dwarves can't be wizards. Orcs can't be this. This can't be that. Well, that's nice, but that's how you play. That's not how everybody plays.
Well, then they're wrong.
No, they're
It's
not.
that simple. It's very
no,
simple.
They're not. No, they're not. They are wrong from your point of view.
Nope.
They're not wrong. They are not demonstrably wrong. They are not empirically wrong. They are wrong from your point of view based on your preferences. And that's all it is. And once we can get past that, we can stop being the nerds in the comic store going, actually, Elric would win against Conan because all he has to do is touch him with Stormbringer and it will suck out his soul. And Conan is famous for not wearing armor. Therefore, it'll be very easy for Elric to make that blow. So thank you very much. And that shit needs to fucking stop. Because we're not kids in a fucking comic store anymore. We're not fucking geeks and nerds. We are people who are hobbyists. And by putting up barriers of taste, we are preventing people from coming in because they start hearing that they're wrong for wanting to try stuff. And once you start telling people they're wrong, if they're not in the game already, they're gonna go, fuck it. You know what? I'm gonna do something else. No,
See ya. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
And that is the wrong attitude to have. And you and I will always disagree on this, Max, because it is wrong.
Nope. There's a right way to do stuff, but I'll let Cody go first. Cody,
stick some nice land to give it up your ass, Crafty.
yeah, right. So, how can we encourage people to be true hobbyists, which includes casual players? Again, I say that because some people miss that interpretation where, well, I just play casually. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with playing casually, but there are the tourists that come in that want to change what we do. Want to look at it and judge what we do as far as like, you should do it better, even though we've been doing it for, I'll use the crafty quote, 40 years, you know.
Well, I don't care how long you've played. That doesn't mean you know everything. You're always learning. My dad taught me an important lesson from the time I was really little. He said, the stupidest person can teach you something new that you didn't know. Mm-hmm. And so, like, just because you've been playing for 50 fucking years doesn't mean you know anything, or doesn't mean that you're playing the best you can play, or doesn't mean you can play guitar the best you can play, or doesn't mean you can write that program the best you can do. You can always get better at what you can do. So I'm always open to learning and getting better, right? But as far as like a tourist comes in, if they tell me, it's pretty obvious. Like the guy I was telling you about earlier, that was telling me that I was running my game wrong or something that he wanted. I'm like, sorry, dude, like this is the way I run a game. I'm willing to like cater to like stuff you want to do in the game. Like you want to go off and like, what do you want to do in the game? I'm willing to change the game in that aspect.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to change the way I run a game, because experience does matter. I'm not saying experience doesn't matter. I'm just saying that don't let your experience get in the way, block your view of other aspects of what you can do, right? Continue to develop and learn. You always have something to learn. You can always get better. I'm still getting better. We're all still getting better, and we can all learn.
I'm not. I'm getting worse.
No.
I'm degenerating.
As far as like, if you want somebody to be, not be a tourist, set a good example, be a good example, be an ambassador to the hobby, set a good example right up front. Don't be a fucking dick. Don't be just don't be a dick, and set the right example for what you think should be the best example of what a gamer should be. And then other people, and be a good leader, and other people will follow suit. Hopefully, if they don't, whatever, and if they want to continue showing up, great.
So let's just take an example. I'm running a D&D game, let's say.
Okay.
And we'll take Dungeon Damsel from the chat because she's been actually engaging and talking about the topic for once, as opposed to drawing all attention to her. And she says to me, I've never played D&D before. Okay, what do you want to play? I really like Willow. And I want to play one of those little people, but I want to be a wizard. Well, unfortunately, in D&D, halflings cannot be wizards. Therefore, you cannot play what you want. I'm sorry, child. Nonsense. Poppycock. Or shit.
Wait, say that again? Sorry, I was reading Crafty's comment. Say that again?
Really, motherfucker?
He's trying to correct me, and he's getting all pedantic, so go ahead.
It's Crafty. Ignore him. He's in L.A. He sells cars. He could be on coke for all we know. No, I think you're not Crafty. So what was that? Malachi throw shade? What'd you say?
That he had a good comment. Crafty.
Oh, okay. I do not like the term tourist for those people who want to come in and change the game. Tourists are people we want. These are the people we want to turn into residents. Exactly. It's the casuals who want to change the game, not the tourists. Yeah. The casuals just like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm just
see. That's weird because it's always been explained to me the definitions are the opposite. Whatever. Again, who cares? We're talking about the people.
Okay. So my point is, again, player shows up, says, I love Willow. I've never played this game before, but I really want a character. Oh my God, I would really love to play a character like who's like a hobbit who can cast spells. Gee, you can't class as this thing. The game says no. Sorry. I'm probably going to lose that person. Or they're going to play, but they're not going to have as much fun. No, see, there's where you're mistaken.
No, I'm not mistaken.
No, you have sat here on this show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here comes the Max and Bear moment. You have sat here on this show and decried one true wayism alongside us on certain topics. You don't get to be one true way on some topics and no true way on others. You either subscribe to one true wayism or you do not. You cannot be picky on this one.
Yes, you can.
No, because you're creating barriers, and that's a horrible
I want barriers. I don't want everybody in here that's going to come change stuff. I literally don't. I want people who are going to respect the lore, respect the canon. It's like somebody put in the comment earlier. It's like, if you want to have a dwarf wizard, that's a setting choice. That is a setting choice. But what people don't look at, and this is the problem, is why that rule exists. There's game balance involved. I don't care as far as story goes. Palladium has dwarven wizards. I don't argue about it there, but it also runs magic in a completely different way. I'm talking, and then let me rephrase, you're right. I shouldn't use the word balance because there's no such thing as game balance in these games. What I'm saying is that it all has a ripple effect that people don't understand. For example, 5e, I hear it all the time. I don't play 5e, but don't even have a character. There's no point in playing human. Why? Because you don't have dark vision.
And yet the number one played character on Roll20 and 5e is Human Fighter.
Human Fighter, yeah.
Number one, and by a long margin.
And that's the most common character created in Baldur's Gate 3.
That's a computer game. Nobody cares. You always have your tank, your fighter, your tank, your rogue, your cleric.
There are not enough bags of dicks for you to eat on this topic. I'm telling you that right now, my friend.
I hate to say it, but Baldur's Gate 3 is closer to 5e rules as written than most tables.
Wait, Malachi. Log Dog just paid $5 to do a well actually on us.
Well, I'll do that at the end of the segment.
I'm just saying, like, Log Dog went super nerd.
The thing is, I don't have a problem. Like, I give we don't see him anymore. Old friend of mine from EverQuest, but he ran a dwarven druid, and I always bust his balls about there's no such thing as a dwarven druid. Stop it. I don't care what you do at your table. I care about this expectation that if I want to do it, I get to do it. I care about the concept that we have to homogenize everything, which ruins the original canon, the original story. The folks in chat are yelling, "Oh, but Max, you're bad, you're wrong." I don't care what you do at your table. I really don't. I have a problem with the expectation that, if somebody wants to come in with something different, then we should just allow it. No, you should not just allow it.
Wait. Isn't that a choice I get to make for my game at my table that I run? Isn't that my choice?
Never said it wasn't, but I get to judge. But I absolutely do get to judge you for it.
And I get to judge you for being a stick in the mud.
Yeah, but that's fine. But I will take the stick in the mud curmudgeons all day and all night over the people that want to change it. You don't go to the rocket club, the model rocket club, and try to do model airplanes. That's a whole different thing. Go play your model airplanes over there.
That is a false equivalency.
No, it is not. When you come in and you're trying to add in like, oh, we want to do things differently. We want to make your own thing. Don't come in and try to change what's already established. There is a paradigm there that has been set for a reason. Follow the paradigm.
Okay. I will no longer argue this point.
Okay.
Do not take my silence as winning. Take it as I see no benefit in continuing.
No. To be fair, and we're not really in the chaotic section of this. Is the fact that again, showing difference of opinion and difference of belief. People in chat are getting a little heated over this on both sides.
Oh yeah. We all need to calm down. Max and I respect each other. We just disagree on this point.
Yes, we absolutely do disagree.
And he's very comfortable being wrong.
So the point that I just want to emphasize, because we are way over time on what we were supposed to do with this episode, is that I really want to put out there that you're allowed to be passionate about this stuff. You're allowed to have difference of opinion. You know what? Bear can sit here and say that I'm wrong, and I can sit here and say that he's wrong. You know what's going to happen? We're both going to run our tables the same way, or the way we want to run them. You know, and that's one of the things that we chat's going crazy. So anyway,
I know, it's amazing watching this. Is like, Jesus Christ, we found a magic button tonight.
Well, it's because we intentionally got to look contentious, and I like that. But let's finish up. Let me. We got one more question to do. Oh, actually, no, I want to do some follow-up questions here because
dwarves could be clerics, couldn't they?
In first edition, dwarves and PC dwarves could be clerics, but not player characters. And in second edition, yes.
And in Back Me, if you're playing Mystara with the Dwarves of Rockholm, it has a dwarven cleric in it.
So I have always delivered my opinion like I am right and you're wrong. That's just something you're gonna have to deal with if you're gonna watch me. I've been like that my entire life about every opinion ever. If you don't like it, c'est la vie.
Very true.
So what can we do to encourage people to be true hobbyists, or whatever term we're allowed to use today? I don't know.
I don't understand what a true hobbyist is then at this point.
Somebody who respects the hobby, doesn't come in with well, I got to change this, or I'm going to do this my way constantly. Like, actually respects it. And the thing is I usually believe that people who come in and respect where things come from, why things exist the way they are, when they change something, they do it for a reason, not just because they want to. Well, all orcs are intelligent. If orcs have the sentience of human beings, then they should be able to do anything a human can do. You know, that kind of nonsense. That stuff's prevalent. I have a whole video on that from 5 years ago where that was, it was a big thing. So
it's a lot different than saying dwarves as mages. Just saying. That's bringing politics and outside social constructs into a game.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's all part and parcel. And I always go back. My default position is, what is the setting of the game? I mean, I hated Dark Sun because I thought it changed D&D too much. But with that said, Dark Sun has its own setting, its own rules. You're not gonna change them if you're playing Dark Sun. You're going to play with what it says. I don't like psionics, so I don't use it. But if I'm using Dark Sun, guess what? I'm going to have psionics in it. That's just the way it is.
I never ran Dark Sun.
Same here. But let me get to these so we can actually end this without it being argumentative. We can do the chaos stuff and be argumentative. And you'll have a chance here in just a second, Cody. I want to ask about do you have a session 0 to lay down the rules? And we'll actually start with Cody. Do you have expectation managements that you put in there? Do you do anything about explaining why things are the way they are? Do you think that goes overboard?
No, I don't think it goes overboard. It depends on what kind of world, what kind of game you're playing. I don't always run a session 0. I don't really like session 0s for the most part. Session 0 to me is more like we're making characters and just hanging out for the night and like establishing what the game's going to be and stuff. When we're actually playing, that's session 1. Mm-hmm. We're playing. Like I'm not really a session 0 kind of guy. I've done it a few times. It just depends on the type of game and setting. Now, it kind of follows into what you and Bear were talking about a little bit. Like if it's a certain kind of world and a certain kind of setting, I'm going to lay down the parameters, and that's really where you need a session 0. So if I'm playing a very specific type of world and setting, I'm going to lay down the rules. It's like, look, there's no fucking dwarf wizards in this world, right?
Yeah.
Or there's no humans in this world, or if it's a very specific type of setting, you need to lay down the law, lay down what it is. It's like maybe there's no wizards in this setting, like there's no magic, You can't play a magic user. Period. Magic users are bad guys. Whatever. Like it just depends on the setting, and and that's the kind of thing where I probably will have a session 0 because you have to lay out a lot of laws, a lot of rules, especially if it's like D&D where there's and you're twisting and bending that to what the actual concept is. You're going to have to lay down a lot of ground rules for what this game and this setting and this world's going to be, and explain it up front.
But you should just let everybody. I mean, why can't I be a tiefling? You should just allow it.
No.
Not in this world, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't have a problem saying no to you. Now, if we're just playing D&D wide open, and you're like, I want to play tiefling, and let's say, I'll be like, okay,
Coast.
Yeah, okay, you can play a tiefling, but you're a demon. Basically, you're going to be viewed as a demon.
Yeah.
People are going to hate you. They're going to view you with animosity. So I'm going to explain to them that you can play this, but it's going to be a challenging character to play. And if you don't play smart, people are going to, they're probably going to put a bag over your head and burn you at the stake in the middle of the night. But if you want to play this type of character, you can do that.
Have you been
That's almost
my notes
exactly
for
word
Aldana
for word what I
people
tell
do to
people.
wizards?
Yeah, exactly. So, like
No, but
you
you're
have
right.
there's nothing wrong with laying down the ground rules for your world and your setting and your whatever you're playing, right? And I think that's where it's important to run a session 0 so everybody's clear what is going to happen in this game, right?
No, but this is the thing. Setting always trumps rules.
Yes.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
1E players are going to hate you for saying that, but
Yeah,
that's
they can
you're
also
100%. You're
make the
100%
right
right.
one jealous. Like Jesus
Well,
Christ, I'm tired of this fucking nonsense.
Yeah. Well, then those
Sorry,
1E
I'll
players.
save it for the chaotic section. Go ahead.
Well, the 1E players need to go read the Dragonlance book because it changed rules.
Shh. Sacrilege.
Let's use that as an example. Okay, I want to play. I want to play a halfling. I got my heart set on playing a halfling. They seem so cool. I can't wait to play one.
Which game are we playing?
Dragonlance.
Yeah, can't
Okay,
Dragonlance.
well,
Serenade.
there are no halflings in there, but there is a thing called the Kender that are like halflings.
Yeah.
Do you
Kinda
really
like
hate
how
halflings
are
that much
like
to say that?
No.
Or if you want to play something a little stupider, there's a gully dwarf. They're more fun.
In the halfling book, they said it the best. Kender are halflings without common sense.
Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I hope I was equal here. I starred comments that both agreed with Bear and agreed with me, just to show out there that this is not an issue that is black and white as we're making it sound. This is not an issue that's it's funny that chat is getting as angry as it did over this, but that's okay because we all play the games different ways, and I want the diversity of thought. Do new players have a responsibility at all? And I actually put a little blurb behind this because this is what one of my coworkers said, and he felt that, and I'm going to speak for him. He said that a new person's responsibility is to absorb, whatever that means. Absorb the game, absorb the rules, absorb the players, absorb whatever. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Cody?
It's a bit basic of a statement, but sure.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
I mean, every player has a responsibility of learning what their character can do and learning the rules. Now, I don't expect a new player in the first session to know that shit right off the bat. And, it might take them a few sessions to learn it. But again, if we've been playing for 6 months and you don't know what your fucking sleep spell can do, dude, come on, get real.
In my Noobler game, the Nooblers knew their spells better than the vets when the vets eventually joined the campaign. And they still, to this day, knew their spells. They went out and bought spell cards, for fuck's sake, just so they could know what their spells did.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. Meanwhile, I've got veterans in games where I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? Well, let me look at my spells.
Yeah. I mean, like
that was somebody else's turn.
That applies to everybody. You should know. You should know the rules. You should know how the game plays. You should know your spells and your abilities and whatever the fuck you're doing. Like eventually, but a new player, I don't expect them to know that stuff right up front. But I at a certain point, I'm going to be like, dude, come on, you've been playing this enough. You know what a D20 is by now.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've had players that have played for like months, and they're like, which one's a D8? Is it this one? And I'm like, dude, come on.
For me, it's been the D10 and the D8. They get those confused.
It's the D20, D12, I've noticed.
Okay. I'm going to skip the last follow-ups here because I really want to get to the last question here so we can end this. I can read super chats. And again, it was supposed to be a 2-hour episode, maybe 2.5 hours at the most. And because I'm a bad facilitator, we're over 3 hours right now. So I'm horrible. That's okay.
Cody talked too much. I'm blaming Cody.
Well, no, I actually asked a few too many follow-ups in a couple of these, but that's fine. But I really wanted to get to the pointed aspects of a lot of this stuff as well. Like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But anyway, last one is, how do you make the venue comfortable for the new player? And what do you provide? Food and water? Do you use safety tools? Do you tell your lecherous friend to tone it down around females? Do you have the person sit at a particular spot at the table, like maybe next to you or away from you? Whatever. We'll start with I don't know, who haven't I started with recently? I think we ended with Cody last couple of times, so we'll start with him. What do you do? Anything you do. What do you do to make the venue comfortable for the new player?
Me?
Yes, sir.
There's fucking Cody here.
Look, just no. Okay. So first off, like these safety tools and all that shit, go shove it up your ass. All right. Look, just be a common sense human being. All right. If you don't know social etiquette and you don't know how to behave in social situations, you need to go like spend some more time in therapy or with your parents or something, like, because this is not the right venue for you. Okay. Like I obviously, like, there's certain lines you don't cross in social situations, and the same applies in a role-playing game session. And the same applies, like, we're not going to talk about pedophilia in a role-playing game session.
Jesus Christ, that demonetized.
No, I'm just saying, we're not going to talk about your fucking sex. We're not going to act out your sexual fantasies in a role playing session. We're not. No, fuck no, we're not.
Man.
Like, and you should know this shit. I shouldn't have to explain it to you. I shouldn't have to set the ground rules to begin with, right? Unless it's something like, unless you specifically tell me, hey man, I'm like, I have like a phobia of this, and like it really traumatizes me because this, I would probably be like, okay, cool, dude, but like otherwise I'm not gonna, like, go fuck yourself with all these X cards, safety tools, and all that crap. Not necessary. It's just called social etiquette, and we all should know when not to cross the line. And if you do cross the line, it's just like, okay, whoa, slow down, we crossed the line there, let's not do that, let's back up, we're just gonna, we're not gonna do that, right? Like that's not necessary. So I don't think any of that's necessary. I don't think it should be established. Like, I've been playing games for almost 30 years now, and it's very rarely become an issue. And when it becomes an issue, you address it. You're just like, hey dude, like that was too far. We're going to back up and we're just going to keep going. No problem. Keep rolling. Right? Like, it's not an issue.
99.9% of the problems we've discussed tonight, including this one, are solved by the ability to say no.
Yeah,
but I bet no. Why not? Because I said no.
Right, exactly.
Get out.
Dwarf Wizard, no.
Come back to the table when you know how to listen to me. I said
exactly.
No.
So, I mean, do you, just out of curiosity, if you guys play at home, or if you have played at home, do you do the food water thing? Do you do the, hey, grab sodas from the fridge? Because I'll be honest with you, I was a dick. I never did that. I was like, no, my stuff's my stuff. You bring your own and take your trash with you.
No, we do communal, and we do communal cleanup at the end.
No, okay, let me rephrase it. Yes, there would be communal stuff, but I'm just saying, like, I'll have soda or something in the fridge, but I'm not like, some people cook meals and so forth. Yeah, before our game, we have
Oh, we do. I go over to my friend's house, and he volunteers to do it. Him and his wife always cook or
That's
order.
Different.
That's they volunteer to do it. And they're always like, hey,
the game and starts using your stove. It's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, not so much, but like,
I gotta make my supper. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. They volunteer to do it there, and it's to us as adults, it's more like a social gathering of friends. So they're like, hey, we're gonna barbecue, we're gonna eat barbecue, we're gonna drink some beers. And like, I'm like, cool, you guys, I'll bring over the chips. I'm going to bring the beer. I'm going to, we do that kind of thing, but it's not my group too.
Luck.
One of the players in my group was a chef for 16 years. So when we play at his house, he makes a meal for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, so like, I mean, we take a break halfway through the game to eat the best fucking burgers you've ever had in your life, or whatever the fuck crazy shit he's thrown together, right? Really good stuff. That's different. People just assuming sukase e mikasa. Whoa.
Yeah.
Mikasa e mikasa. Not sukase.
I could be over at your place, Bear, and you could be like, hey, soda's in the fridge. Just go grab one. I will still ask you every single time.
Guess what I was raised to do? Do you mind if I use your washroom?
Yep.
And in the old days, do you mind if I use your phone?
Yeah.
Yes. And all my friends would be like, dude, just do it. No. I will not reduce my manners by your savagery. Do you mind if I use your washroom?
Exactly. Yep. Malachi, do you do anything to make the venue comfortable for new players?
No, just you're gonna be treated just like everybody else. I was like your comment about asking the lecherous player to tone down. I would probably have done that a long time ago.
Oh, I just don't invite him to any game that I'm going to have women in. Saves me a lot of fucking headaches.
Yeah.
Okay. And always take your effing shoes off when you come in. Okay, so let me put this on the screen. My wife's Japanese. so yes, this is an issue. I still don't do it. No, I ask when I go to somebody's house, I ask shoes on or off. That's just one of the first things that comes out of my mouth. And they're like, no problem. I keep them on. If there's like, take them off, I take them off. Don't walk on my floor with your stanky ass bare feet though. Wear some socks, come with some slippers, or wear your damn shoes. Like, I can't stand the barefoot thing. But for the folks who are talking potato chips, you will not have potato chips at my table. For the love of God, unless you want to be sliced with those things. And that's that misophonia thing. But I also know that if that's going to be a requirement for people to play at the table, I'm out of that game. I don't ask them to leave. I'm like, is this like, I give one opportunity for them to quote unquote cater to my issue. And if they're like, yeah, no, we're going to eat snacks at the game, I'll be done. Like, I can't be here. I'll be out. I'm not going to ruin their game.
How do you feel about Skia yogurt?
You know, get stuck in the mouth like peanut butter. No.
That's how you do that, Crafty. You wait for the window.
Now, like what for me, like food and stuff. Normally, I'm like, we'll all chip in for a pizza. If you bring soda, just grab a case, bring for everybody.
Look, in the old days when stuff was cheaper and inflation wasn't out of control, yeah, it was okay if I'm hosting. I'm going to buy a bunch of shit for you guys. These days, when a bag of fucking chips is like $6. You know what I mean? Fuck that noise. Everybody pool in and get the food together, please. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, I live in the South, and so like as a good host, like I'm always like, hey, do you want a drink? Do you want some coffee? You know, like that's why
my sister. We get it.
Yeah. Still, well, no, I mean, like, but like here, like it's always been a communal thing. Like everybody's like, all right, I'm gonna bring drinks, I'm gonna bring beer, I'm gonna bring whatever. It's just is what it is. We don't even like.
It's an unofficial potluck.
Yeah.
And I have one player. Right. He's on disability. He's unemployed. He's unemployable because of his hearing problems. So what I do is I go, hey, man, I can't. I don't have time to run out and grab stuff. Can I just zap you $20 and you can just grab us some stuff? You know what I mean? So that way he's picking up stuff and he's bringing something to the game.
Yeah.
A lot of good comments out there. I can't get to them all. Again, if you really want your comment read, you can super chat. I'm not being a dick, but I don't have time for all of them. But I hope you enjoyed today's. I added a little spice there at the end. We're going to go through the comments now and super chats, and then I think we're going to call this segment over. I hope these guys had fun as well. Let's get to. So the first one here, Violence Sells Everything says, everyone has seen who liked The Lost Mines of Phandelver talks about it as a great adventure campaign. Never say it was a great introduction to the hobby. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. You know what? I'll take the L on that one. And Rosa says, start out always with kidnapping.
Just because was here. I missed
one more time, I wanted to put that up. This is how you get people into the hobby.
Look familiar, Bunny?
See, I'm telling you, I had the best thumbnail ever. So, only a Sith deals an absolute, and the Sith were right. If you look at the Jedi versus the Sith were absolutely right. Yoda caused the fall of the Republic, so the Sith were right.
That was Darth Jar Jar.
You shut up too.
Crafty says, just play by the rules and everything will be okay. Yeah.
Just hug it out, Crafty.
Now, Law Dog, and I know this is clarified later, but he super chatted, so I've got to read it for $5. Thank you, Law Dog, for the $5 and the $10 later. Willa couldn't cast spells. He found artifact level 1 that gave him powers. Problem solved. Halfling has spells. Halfling, not a wizard. I mean, that's a very Palladium Heroes Unlimited type thing. Like, I'm not a superhero, but I got a wand that makes me into one. So, oops, I didn't mean to do. I just deleted Crafty's comment where he agreed with me. Damn it! Damn it! Oh well, there's one less that agreed with me.
Crafty.
Going on to Law Dog, I hit the wrong button there. Sorry. Look for this next one. I wasn't being actually Nerd Bear. I was pointing out that you and Max can have both things at the same time without violating. Yes, I absolutely agree with this comment.
Yeah, I agree.
Without violating your vision of the game. Yep.
And unlike Max, who tells everybody who disagrees with him they're wrong because they're wrong for disagreeing with him, I just tell Max he's wrong for being an obstinate ass.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Has that ever changed me?
No, never once.
So RPG Dad says my
I
games
gotta
are
rock
always
that dad charisma. All my gamers are always homebrewed. Yeah, exactly. Dude.
So much fun. And that's the thing is I'm not against homebrew games as long as people are. So let me real quickly. The last game that I was in Germany before I came here, we were sitting around the table and we had gone from playing 3E to 2E, thank God. And then for whatever reason, we got some new players in who would only do 5E. And I was like, God damn it. So moved to 5E. And they all sat around the table looking at me as the bad guy because they knew how I felt. And, hey, so this guy over here, he wants to play a cleric. I'm like, cool. But he wants to be a bugbear. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So
were you in the Forgotten Realms?
No, I think it's, well, maybe-ish. Yeah, I don't know how he did it. Honestly, yes, no, 100%. We were, no, the reason why, because part of the second edition game was Forgotten Realms because I was playing a Priest of Lyra. I don't know about the 5e game. I don't know where that was. It was some generic thing, I think, but anyway. Yeah, but that's also why back in the second edition days, I hated Forgotten Realms because everything was like kumbaya, everybody dancing together. No, there's supposed to be differences in these things.
It definitely speaks more to psychological damage you've suffered in life than actually your views on D&D.
Okay.
Just saying.
And you can't be passionate about shit here. This is an RPG stream.
Gentlemen, please, no fighting. This is the war room.
Exactly. So Law Dog for another $10. Thank you very much, Law Dog. Really appreciate all the super chats we received today and Rumble rants. To be fair, by the way, I don't have the game set up right now to do the giveaways. We actually would have opened up a giveaway today between Rumble and YouTube. So thank you for all the folks and anybody who donated behind the scenes. I tend to get a couple of those now through Ko-fi or Streamlabs or whatever. Thank you very much for everybody who's donated to the stream. I hope you enjoyed it. Always write a short primer like Bear did with Palladium Game. It clears up a lot of character creation and gameplay issues for the game that follows. They were talking about Dragonlance a bit ago. I absolutely love Dragonlance because of its takes that are different than Dungeons and Dragons. That entire I love the Knights of Solamnia over generic paladins. I love the wizards, the Order of High Sorcery, because they're really just clerics. That cast wizard spells. If you really look into it, they might not pray, but they definitely revere and worship the gods to some degree. I love it. So I'm not against all differences. I'm against people with the expectation of well, I just think it's dumb to have level caps because it's just dumb. No,
leave this up because I don't. All I can see is Malachi's eyebrows, so it's not like I'm looking at the skinnier younger brother that mom loved more.
Okay. So we're going to move on to people act like they cannot make a million different permutations and combinations just by taking. By the way, if you guys want to jump in, I'm going through these kind of quickly, but if you want to jump in as well.
No, I want to get to the part where we yell at each other.
Oh, you got a good combination just by taking what is in your core rulebook. What this reminded me of was Earth Dawn, and one of the things I love, I absolutely just Earth Dawn became one of the reasons of the many that it became my favorite game is because the disciplines were mindsets. In order to be a sword master, you must be a showman. Now you don't have to do it 24/7. There are different facets, but when you're fighting, you must be a showman. When you're playing an archer, you always search for the truth.
Why aren't more of you playing Earth Dawn? Clearly, it is the superior RPG.
It absolutely is. Well, not 4th edition, not 3rd edition either. But all the additions have their benefits, but there was a mindset, because anybody can wield a sword. Anybody can learn and over time become really experienced with a sword. You can be an Olympic fencer, but if you want the magic behind it, you have to actually have a way of thought. That's why it's called discipline. And I fell in love with that concept. And people would complain, well, this is dumb, so I just can't play any old warrior I want. Yes, you can. The only thing you have to do as a warrior is think about the team. That's really the only rule. The only thing you have to do as a sword master is you have to be a showman when you're fighting. Well, what if I just want to kill a guy? Well, then you're not being a sword master, and you might suffer a discipline violation. Or maybe that's the show you're trying to give. There are ways to work around it, but there are infinite, exactly as this comment says, there are infinite permutations that you can have within those disciplines. Just open up your imagination box a little bit and make it work. So, anything you guys want to say on that, or moving on?
Earth Dawn sounds stupid.
Okay.
I'm just fucking with you.
It doesn't hurt me when people say that, though. So, Max and Violence of all people, to clarify what I'm saying, Violence Solves Everything says Max is not saying you can't make a change for your game. He's saying that you need to understand why things are the way they are before you make the godforsaken change. Right, but I was doing it in an antagonistic way intentionally. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And also, what's the great game breaker of a dwarf being a wizard? What chaos will be unleashed in your world because a dwarf can cast spells? What falling apart of the game is about to occur that, well, fuck, the game's gone to shit now? None. This is just old traditional shit carried over that has been carried over.
Well, it depends on what edition of the game you're playing, to be honest, because if you're playing one of the early editions, it does cause, because dwarves get a bonus to their magic resistance. They also 20% chance of magic failure in second edition, plus per 3.5 points of constitution, they get a bonus to the save. They're naturally resistant to magic. Now, you can just be, that's fluff. I get it, that's fluff, but there's a game mechanic that's around it, and I believe in verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is important.
At the end of the day, okay.
Now, if you say, hey, I allow dwarven wizards in my world, but 20% of the spells they cast are or 20% of the time they cast a spell, it fails, and they still lose the spell, like everybody else would, I'd be like, okay, that's weird, but you go for it.
That sounds fun. That sounds actually cool. Oh, you want to be a dwarf wizard? Cool. Every time you cast a spell, roll that percentile, bitch.
Yeah. No, again, if but you think those things through, and you don't say, well, I just, again, that level cap. Well, level caps are dumb. Well, then nobody plays humans that's really the only purpose in old D&D to play human, is you don't have to deal with the level caps. So anyway, if you think it through and you want to make something different, then do it. By all means, do it.
Yeah, but that's the point.
I agree with Max. There are mechanics involved in the race class. Let's go ahead. What?
If you look at Mystara, the Wizards of Linktree actually vivisect dwarves to find out why they are so resistant to magic.
Okay. And also know that when I'm saying this, I'm specifically talking about old school D&D. Earth Dawn, dwarven wizards. In fact, dwarves are the most populous race in the game, and they can all be wizards, nethermancers, illusionists, and elementalists. You've never heard me complain about it.
Where is it? Over here. CNC.
Castles and Crusades. There you go.
Oh, I thought you meant the Music Factory. I was about to break in.
And then school him, Bear. Bear is schooling me.
No, Bear's not schooling him. Bear's just having an actual conversation and a debate with him, and that's the difference. It's like
strong debate.
We also
strong. Absolutely, it's strong, but it's because Max and I are both passionate people who feel strongly about the things we believe in. We're not a fucking Max and I are punch throwers in a room full of middle finders usually, and that is a fucking bold place to be in 2024, because we are surrounded by a society of middle finders, and we need more fucking punch throwers.
I mean, it's one of the ways you find out how serious somebody is about their stances as well. I know I'm not going to change Bear, but I want him to express his stuff to you folks. And Bear knows he's not going to change me. And it's up to you to think, you know what? Maybe there's a middle ground, or maybe I agree with Bear, or maybe I agree with Max. Exactly. And then we move on.
Yep. Jesus, what a boring world. Everybody agrees with you. Was that Malachi?
Yeah. I said, or we think you're both idiots.
There is that option.
Malachi, quick, the door's open. What does your character do? All right, I'll be back and go make a cup of coffee while Malachi thinks. Don't take shots if you want to fucking get him back. You understand, son? You understand?
I think Raven's high on the percentage here. He says I'm right about 37. Yeah, maybe 27. How about that?
About 37% of the sun.
And finally, the last one that I started, there might be some other good ones, but we've got to put a rest to this. We play online now, so good environment as a headphone and using push to talk. The reason I started this one is when I played MMOs and I was the guild leader, I mandated push to talk because I was so sick and tired of hearing the, hey, baby, can you shut the fuck up and just get me... Hey guys, hey guys, and I was like, dude, we're trying to have a damn raid here, and I got the misophonia thing going on, so every one of those things is making me want to just kick everybody out of the guild and stab my cat. So yeah, I demanded push to talk.
Oh, did you bite me? Well done.
So
He never bites. That was awesome.
all right, once
both equally buttholes. Well, I guess someone just talked herself out of a free T-shirt there, didn't she? Oh well.
I'll own it. I'll own it.
Oh, I'm not a butthole. I'm a dick. There is a difference.
Yeah, but you're not getting anywhere close to me, so anyway, all right, guys. Any final wrap-ups, any final thoughts you have about the general topic of getting new people into the hobby? I'm going to give each of you a chance to close it out and to promote yourself at the same time. I'm going to start. We're going to go, I guess that's counterclockwise here. So we're going to start with Malachi. Malachi, any final thoughts about getting new people in the hobby and promote whatever you want to promote?
Just don't be afraid to let somebody join your table to try the game out. If they don't like it, they don't like it. It's okay. Let them move on, or maybe move them on to another table. If you like OD&D and you ever wanted to play it with chainmail in, there's this awesome game from the Basic Expert called White Box. It's now available as POD on Lulu in both softcover and hardcover. Give TV a shout out. And hopefully next week I can get a video up. I won't sleep in like I have been.
There we go. Cody, any final words? And we want to get you some subscribers. Cody, really, look, if you watched all of this and you didn't subscribe to Cody, you're a bad person.
I just do the YouTube thing for fun, just like I do playing games. I have fun. But so I think everybody's had some good advice tonight. I mean, so if you're trying to get new people into the hobby, which I'll be honest, I'm not really actively trying to do that right now. Like, I have people that I like to play with, and I found the people I like to play with, and that's it. I'm good with that now. But if you're trying to get people in the hobby, or you are a new person getting to the hobby, if you're trying to get into a group, just put yourself out there. I think the general rule is don't be an asshole. Don't be weird.
Don't be Max.
Yeah, don't be a weirdo. Just introduce yourself. You can find the right group, and don't get frustrated either, because I've been through several different groups till I found the right people I can play with, right? I found the people I can play with now, and they're online. These are the people I want to play with. So, you need to find the right group for you. Not everybody's going to fit in to everybody's group. Not everybody's going to agree on how you should play a game or what game you want to play. You're going to have to find that out for yourself. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, this isn't for me, and move on. Don't get frustrated, especially if you're a new player, which I don't think we really have any new players here tonight in this chat or in the session or whatever. But if you are and you're listening, don't get frustrated. If you're really interested and you're really passionate, you'll find people that, especially in this day and age with the internet and Discords and YouTube and everything else, you can find people that you can agree with and play the games you want to play. You can do it. And as a GM, same advice. If you want to run a certain type of game, you can't find the players that want to play that game. You can find them. You can find them. I found them. All these guys here have found them. You can find them too. Don't give up hope. You can find those people that fit into the type of game you want to play. Just put yourself out there. And again, don't be afraid to, there's nothing wrong with pushing people out, and nothing wrong with saying no. Right. And that's generally my advice. And don't be a dick.
All right, Bear. Oh, did you shout out your channel, GM Cody? GM Cody.
So
okay.
I got a YouTube channel, GM Cody. If you like hearing about old school role playing games, and generally what I talk about is I do very long form, very very in-depth reviews about old school role-playing games and war games, go check my channel out. That's what I do. I try to put out a video every week, though lately I've been pretty busy, so it's been like every other week. But I'm going to try to get back on schedule and do it at least once a week. And I'm going to try to start doing some live streams too with different people and having some discussions with different gamers and stuff.
Kids in gaming. I'm telling you, I would not be a good host for that one, but I think since you obviously got some thoughts on that, that would be a really good one for you.
Yeah, I might do that at some point.
Cool. Real quickly before Bear goes here, Crafty, no, there's no. I don't have on this new computer. I don't have the application on here yet, and I have to get everything from that other computer. So I've kind of putting a hold on giveaways because I spent all Legion's money to get me this computer. So I have money now, but we are going to start bringing the giveaways back soon. Just like I'll have announcements about that coming up in the future. But no, not tonight. We'll just consider it a hiatus on that for now. So Bear. Any final comments about getting new people into the hobby? And yes, you have to shout out at least one thing that you do, whether your game or your channel or both. That's for calling me wrong.
You are, but wear that shirt however you like. I don't give a fuck. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you're an adult. Run your table, get the people in the way you get the people in. Do what you think is right. Unlike Cody, I won't say don't be a dick. Being a dick, we need more dicks. Don't be an asshole. We have enough of those. And don't be a pussy. Okay? As for what I'm promoting, yeah, you're going to get to see this asshole play Palladium next Saturday, the 13th. So come watch that. That's what I'm going to promote. That's what I'm promoting.
The character is so different from me.
Seriously, he's likable.
Oh, Burn, you got... The stream's over. I'm done. I quit.
Excellent. Yes, you're well done from that burn.
I do want to thank Law Dog. Law Dog, thank you very much for the gifted 5 memberships and the 5 people got him. Sound Surgeon, Dark Theac, Drift Speed, Robert Beatty, and Guardian of the Room. Congratulations. Crafty, I'm not starting the after show yet. Just letting you know so you can hang out for a little bit. I got 15 minutes left, baby. This stream did go long.
Thinking about what you did wrong, Crafty, for 15 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. So this stream did go long. I hope to keep here's the plan for the folks who are still watching. The plan is this. I want the first 2 to 2.5 hours to be on topic like this. And then the last hour and a half be Bear and I yelling at or whomever. Back to what you expect from the chill stream or the rando stream. Because, let me get that off the screen. That doesn't need to still be there. Because we still want to have fun here, but I want to make it more topical. I want to make it more meaningful for folks. And by the way I was reading chat today, you guys were absolutely engaged, involved, and I think most people tend to like this format. I don't know what the discussion topic is going to be for next week. We have to figure that out, but I have over 30 discussion topics that are honestly ready to go. I could start one right now and be ready to go for a whole nother episode. So we've got a lot of things to talk about in the future here. I'll work with these guys and some others that want to be on here to talk about these things, but we want to have conversations with people who do things differently. If it was up to me, I'd have a 5e weird blue-haired person. I'd have an OSR grognard, and I'd have somebody that doesn't even know what the hell those are and plays other games like, Star Wars or something,
I can find you all 3 of those.
Awesome. But you get the point that I'm making. It's like, because we want you to be able to take like some of what Malachi said, some of what I said, some of what Bear said, some of what Cody said, and make your own thing, and do your thing. So,
do you need a Mormon? I know a Mormon.
We've got a Mormon. Would you like the Mormon? Or you already get? You had the
only
Mormon
when I start talking Dragonlance. But anyway, thank you, Malachi. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Bear, for being here. We're going to continue on. I'm actually not going to split this up into segments for 4 separate videos like I thought I was going to do. They're just too long. I may as well just keep in the live stream now. But that's the other goal in the future is I want to keep it 2 to 2.5 hours so I can do with this kind of what I do with RPG Digest, and that's break them up into their segments for separate videos for people to watch in a little bit more reasonable dose, so to speak. Maybe you don't care about how Bear and I and Malachi got in the hobby. You just want to know about what to do during session 0, session 1. Boom. You can just watch that video. Make it a little bit easier for folks. I'm just not going to do it for this video because it went way too long, and I will practice my facilitation techniques to fix that in the future.
Or maybe
So-
you only care about what Cody has to say.
What's that?
That's right. Cody is the only one anyone cares about anymore. Cody is the rational voice in the room. Max and I are too passionate, and Malachi just stares like a creepy, creepy uncle. While Cody's like, listen, what you got to do is you got to do these things. It's amazing. It's a great dynamic.
Can you yell at me too? No, I would just tune you out. So, you know.
Raven, super chat me anything you want him to yell at you about. Go.
So, yeah, I'm glad.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I wanted to say I'm not, but the only reason I'm here is because he couldn't make it. Otherwise, I was sitting this one out. So, yeah, I'm sorry you couldn't be here too.
So I guess with that, if there's anything, I'm gonna let chat. I'm gonna give chat 1 or 2 minutes here to post anything in there that maybe they thought about the show, thought about us. Again, if you really want us to read it, like as in the super chat, else I may or may not. But if there's any final commentary that chat has before we head on out, we're coming up on 10 p.m., which is the normal end time. I think it's time to end the show. Go ahead and put that in there. A lot of great comments today, guys, and I really do appreciate that. It kept it going. One of the reasons why I said what I said a little more irrationally. No, because I mean I believe it. With the energy that I said it was because chat was dying, and guess what? It got chat moving again. So, I used you tools.
I like coming to your channel because I get to be the heel.
Oh, but it's needed. It's important that we have. I don't want to say conflict. Engaging banter where everybody's not just like yeah.
Here's the thing: when you live like I do, when you were a Navy SEAL, and now you live in the Baja, there's a thing where you just say, you know what? I was the governor of Minnesota.
His first 2 years, he was good.
I was great for all of them. You were just too stupid to understand what I was doing, and then everyone worked against me. What wizard's fool? Oh no. We love Cody. Cody is dope too. Apparently, fucking RPG Dad and Michael Chad are all about you, buddy. Nice work.
Yeah, all over the place. Hey, that's good. But has this got anybody to subscribe though? How's your subscriber count, Cody?
It definitely went up tonight, and I really appreciate
sweet.
everybody that subscribed. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
It's awesome. I was kind of joking, like I don't think I have that kind of influence, so I'm like, he might got a 1. And then if you look at it on YouTube, you'll look later. It actually was because of another video that you posted like 2 weeks ago. It had nothing to do with this. But from now on, if you guys keep co-streaming, everybody's going to stop watching here because I'm the dick, and they're just going to watch in your channels, and I'm going to have to stop co-streaming. Nope.
You're not the dick. You're the asshole.
Sorry, whatever.
And Malachi's clearly the pussy.
Wow.
Oh, I'm picking on Malachi tonight. I'm all over Malachi.
Yes, Jesus. Well,
Malachi took a shot at me earlier, so I want to make him regret that and never think about doing that again. I'm kidding, Malachi.
Real night. We said
it's just low-hanging fruit. If I pick on Max too much, people are going to get angry, and I can't pick on Cody. I just love Cody.
People aren't going to get angry if you pick on me. They're going to cheer.
What are you talking about? Fucking mouth, Minnesota.
See?
People are going to be upset. They're going to send you private messages telling you I'm a bad influence.
That's right. That I'm a tool and a useful idiot. Oh,
exactly, because I clearly run your ass.
Oh,
well,
man.
Bob, I'm kind of like I've always been a heel. I just, when I wrestle in my home territory, I'm a face. But when I'm out in the rest of the territories, I'm the heel.
Yeah, he's kind of like Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Oh, okay, fuck you. How about that for an answer? You know why, brother? Because I'm going to tell you this right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the choir friends, Roman countrymen, I'm going to end the stream now. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank the folks on. Hold on. Snuck this one in. Holy balls! And he gave it to me, not to you. Funny. Hey, better an A-hole than a whole A.
Don't half-ass things. Whole-ass them. Be a whole-ass.
Yeah. But thank you, Sergeant Dan stuff. I appreciate that. For the last $2 we're going to grab for tonight because I'm going to end the stream. Thank you, everybody who is here. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. So, Sunday. I forgot to talk about Sunday. Sunday, I'm going to be covering Adventures in Dinosaur Swamp. If I finish reading it tomorrow. And he's going to finish up Traveler 2nd edition. And with that, now, I hope everybody has a great night.